This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Beautiful swim. Sorry. Hello, good afternoon everybody. I'm sorry about whatever technical difficulties have come to you from that side, but my name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by BK on camera, and we're very excited to have you with us, coming to you live from Djuma Private Game Reserve. What a wonderful afternoon it is. Here we've got a couple young little Impala males in front of us. Sorry about those technical issues. Catches everybody on the back foot. These two over 1 year old male Impala. So this afternoon, everybody, this drive is dedicated to Barbara Morelli. She's been watching WildEarth since 2017, and she lives all the way over in Massachusetts. Massachusetts. Excuse my pronunciation, on the east coast of the United States. She is a science librarian at a small private liberal arts college. How exciting. Lovely to have you with us this afternoon, and we look forward to answering your questions, Barbara. The weather today, everybody, is 27 degrees Celsius, 81 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is looking to be a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Now, kids out there, if you have any questions, you can send them through to WildEarth. To kidsquestions at wildearth.tv. Please, we'd love to hear from you. What we're doing though, is we're just moving around the corner. Let's carry on, BK. There's Impala have gone hidden in the shade. Moving around the corner, we had a beautiful female leopard this morning by the name of Tully just around the corner. We're going to see if we can figure out where she went to. She was hungry. She was looking for some food. And she nearly actually caught a yearling Impala. Now that's the year before November born, those two males. You can tell that by the length of the horns. They're born every season about November time. The rutting season has actually just commenced, has just finished. The breeding season for Impala has finished. I missed all of it. There's a very loud affair that goes on between the males, making lots of loud and very ungainly, or should I say, hideous sounds. But a little youngster, only born in November of last year, was just meandering through the bushes this morning. We were sitting with Tandy, who's an expert hunter, and she just overstepped her patience boundary. I think if she'd given it a few more moments, we would have been lucky. So that is my initial idea, just to go to where we last saw her. Is just around the corner, see if she's made a kill. If she has, she's probably hoisted it up a tree, and then barring that, it is a difficult block to track in. We're going to continue on and maybe see if we can find a few birds for you this afternoon. I'm an avid birder, and if you like birds, most important bit of technology right over there. Okay, well, very exciting. andBeyond has already found some big cats for this afternoon. Let's send you all the way over to the east coast to catch up with them.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera we've got Marcel, and we've come out from Mountain Lodge this afternoon, and we've managed to find some lions right away. Now, this is that pride of lions that we spent yesterday afternoon with, the pride that lives in this area that we know as the mountain pride, and in accompaniment with them are the two big males that we saw last night. And we've got quite an interesting situation developing here. See the male lying off to the right, and then all the lionesses and the youngsters lying in a big group off to the left. And it seems like one of those lionesses might be coming into estrus soon. This male has been very carefully sniffing around her, and she's been flirting with him a little bit. So we'll see what happens from here. A special welcome, of course, to all of our younger viewers, all of our kiddies. Of course, the first 45 minutes of this drive is dedicated to you, so please send through any questions or comments that you might have. And so for now, all of them lying in the shade there, taking in the cool breeze onto their tummies. Looking rather comfortable. Mary and Hector, you're asking why the lion is called the king of the animals, and I suppose it comes down to the old days when there were the settlers or the colonialists that were walking around in Africa, and they encountered these lions and they saw how fierce and ferocious they were, how vicious they were with each other when they fought, and how they captured and ate big animals like buffalo and giraffes, and they were seen to be very brave, and these are all the traits that a human king is supposed to have, and that's why they were called the king of the jungle. And see how this male is keeping his head up. All the other lions lying down, sleeping. A male being very vigilant, keeping a careful eye on that lioness, making sure that she doesn't try to get away from him. What he's also doing is keeping an eye on his brother, because the other male is lying just off to my left, just out of shot. You can't quite see him. And that other male there is, of course, a threat to this male. He wants to make sure that he's the one that gets the chance to mate with this lioness. Now, even though he's his brother, he doesn't want to let him take this opportunity. So he's going to make sure that he doesn't come anywhere close to this lioness. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next few days. She and him might leave the rest of the pride and go off together. What was also quite interesting to watch is just before you all joined us, one of the young sub-adult males, one of the year-old cubs, came up and tried to greet the lioness. And this big male wasn't having any of it. He stood up and he came running towards the young male to attack him, to try and chase him away. And the lioness actually had to stand up and put herself between the big male and the young male to save the youngster. And that kind of thing is going to become more and more common as these young males grow up and start to almost threaten the dominant males a bit more. They're already starting to grow little manes, are the youngsters. And one of them is even starting to scent mark, which is quite unusual. So they're treading on thin ice with their fathers. But while we watch these lions resting and see, we'll wait and see what transpires here, we're going to send you across to Tswalu Kalahari, and I believe they've got an owl to show you.
Good afternoon. Us back at Tswalu Kalahari, and again we have Genre on camera, and I'm Dylan, and we're just going to keep showing you really cool things, some interesting stuff out on this amazing reserve that we have. And we actually on the search for some cheetah and or maybe leopard. We had some good leopard tracks this morning, but they seem to be proving a little bit more elusive than I was hoping. But on the way out there we came across this giant eagle owl. It's having a good snooze. It's also called a Verreaux's eagle owl, or a milky eagle owl. And we're actually very, very lucky. I know we've seen this bird before in this area, but we are still very, very lucky to see them. they cover massive areas in the central Kalahari, or actually even just north of us, south central Kalahari. I mean, their home ranges can be up to 350 square kilometers per pair. And, you know, they can obviously utilize any area of that. Those habitats, no habitat is perfectly homogeneous. So this owl may be here today with its partner. The other one is probably fairly close by to us. But then tomorrow night they could be hunting in a completely different area. So just because you get them roosting in one spot, it doesn't mean that you are going to find them there 2 nights in a row. But that being said, if they've got a nesting site close by, and we're actually going into the nesting season now, from June to September. In our area, it's probably closer towards August, September. But anything from June onwards, if food availability is good, they'll start nesting. This one is completely unperturbed by our presence. Interesting thing about their hunting behavior, I've never seen it, and I think probably very few people have. They'll actually hunt birds on the wing sometimes. They've been recorded catching bats, sandgrouse, things like that. But their normal hunting strategy is to hunt from a perch, and they'll take big prey items, 1-2 kilograms. Luna, so owls are just one of my favorite groups of birds, and I've got so many favorite groups of birds, but I really do like owls. And typically owls will be active and hunt in the evenings. We've got some, and there's different kinds obviously globally, but some are what we call crepuscular, and that means they'll be active just around sunset, and again just around dawn. So sunset and dawn. But for the majority of owls, they're actually nocturnal predators. These ones as well fit into that. They're nocturnal, but they've also been recorded catching things in broad daylight. So it really, again, being a predator, what we term in birds a raptor or a bird of prey, you know, they've got to be opportunistic. And if this little guy's, let's hypothetically say this guy's sitting here roosting, and a bunny came hopping along underneath here for whatever reason, it was injured or anything, and it tried to shelter under the tree, there's a very, very strong chance that this owl will actually go for it. And that's the same with most predators. You know, they've got to be opportunistic in order to survive. But while we're enjoying this incredible sighting, I think head over to andBeyond in Ngala and see what they got that side.
Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. My name is Eric, and behind camera, as always, is Owen. And we've been sitting with this herd of Impala for a little while, and it's just been very interesting to sit and watch, and they're all still very, very closely clustered in, all around pretty much one patch of shade. And I mean, they've been spending pretty much the majority of the day here. There's a couple of them that are starting to be a little bit more restless. There's a few that are moving out of the shade and starting to feed for the day, which is a pretty good omen. It means that these impalas are starting to feel comfortable enough to start moving around. Once they start moving further and further away out of the shade, it means that the temperature is dropping really nicely, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more animals that might be a little bit more active. And so picking up on the leopard or the wild dog search, it bodes pretty well for us, and that's exactly what we will be doing for this afternoon. These impalas, though, are really quite nice to just sit and watch every now and again. And if you were joining us this afternoon, I mean this morning, you would have seen we found a lilac-breasted roller quite close towards the end of the game drive, and I was just commenting on how it's almost a pity that it's just so common, and we hardly look at those lilac-breasted rollers, and the same goes for impalas. And there's just so many little details around their faces that if you spend enough time looking at it, the markings stand out so beautifully all of a sudden. And see, there's the big male, so very much still in the rutting. You can see he's moving back and forth, trying to keep all the females as close as possible, much easier to control. He's looking in very good condition. Look how that tail's puffed out. Doesn't want them to go into the bushes there. I wonder if there's another male impala that's just on the other side, so they might be moving into a potential challenges territory. But maybe if we can, and just to go back towards some of the faces of these impalas here that we can see that are staring straight at us, and just look at the different markings and the colors around them. And like, look at the white around the eye, look at the black. One of my favorite things about impalas is the little white just below the nose. It makes them look like they're wearing this very funky moustache if they turn and look at you. Sure. Edward, it's very interesting how you say that these are the most beautiful, and I mean, it's very difficult for me to choose an exact favorite, but impalas I think are high up there. I'm saying just overlooked sometimes, I think, so we don't really spend the time. That one that we can see on the left hand side of the screen, that's that exact mustache that I was talking about. Looks like a French person from the 1800s. Wesley, the rutting season for sure is still on. It is tapering down now, so I'm pretty sure most of the females are starting to come out of estrus, but these males are holding on for as long as they can. And so we do see them competing and calling out every now and again, but it is definitely slowing down. It's right at the end of the rutting season now. So very soon, one of the biggest signals to tell us that the rutting season is over is these big rams tolerating other males within the big herd like this. So as soon as we start to see 2 or 3 big males integrated with a herd as big as this, when we can tell that that male's not really feeling the need to compete for territory, to compete for females. The more eyes, the merrier. And so these big bachelor groups that we've been seeing separate from these mating groups will all basically come and join in together. And we have been seeing that to a certain extent, but most of the herds are still one male and one big female. So, I mean, this ram seems like he's been quite successful in herding the group. They've all moved back into the shade, and so maybe he's not quite ready to start his day. So I think we'll probably leave them here resting in the shade. We won't wait for them to get active. It might take a while, and we'll try and get into a slightly different area of the reserve. But in the meantime, whilst we're driving, we'll send you across to Djuma, and Steve has got a really nice little bird for you.
We do have a nice bird. We've actually got a pair of them, and I said we'd do some birding today. We came to the area where we last had Tundi this morning, and the go-away birds, you might hear them in a moment. Quang, quang. And we'll just listen to them. I was thinking they were alarm calling for Tundi, perhaps, because they were this morning when we left her. But now we've got two giant eagle owls, also known as the Verreaux's eagle owl. And you can see, beautiful bird, isn't it? You hear the go-away bird in the background. And they're obviously, the go-away birds are terrified that these owls are around. These owls are formidable hunters. They've got an enormous diet of birds, small mammals, reptiles. And they are the biggest owl we find in the area. Hence the name giant eagle owl. And even though they are so big and formidable, I can't help but laugh at them sometimes with their beautiful pink eyelids. Notice how it's turned all the way to the right. And when it was looking the other way, it had turned all the way to the left. So owls are incredibly camouflaged. I had a lot of chats this morning about organisms and camouflage. And camouflage helps with concealing prey. and also concealing predators. These owls, as with most owls, are nocturnal hunters, and they try and just hide away in the day, in the shade, and just go undetected. But their ability to move their neck almost completely around without moving the body is a very important element of remaining concealed. If you move your body, you give away your position. But if you just slowly turn your head, it's much easier to remain camouflaged against the bark, like this one's doing. Took me a good few minutes to actually see them up there, and if it wasn't for the persistent shouting of these go-away birds, we probably would have moved on. Claire and Madison, you want to know if they nest in the tree on the ground? Well, for the most part, they do nest in trees, but they have also been known to utilize the ground. Now, the tree that they're in, BK can show it to you as he sort of zooms back and shows you the whole tree as he moves down. This is a giant, giant tree, right? Now, these trees, called jackalberries, are a famous tree for many of our large birds for nesting in. Because when the branches break, some big branches, they can leave a big cavity, which makes it quite easy for large birds to nest in, namely owls. But they've also been known to sometimes nest on the ground, but also nesting on the nests of other birds, such as sociable weavers, which possibly we can see in Tswalu Kalahari, and also on hammerkorp nests, which we can see them around there, and also buffalo weaver nests. Two of those we can potentially find for you. So they're known to use the nests of others, but generally up in elevated. But other owls, similar like the spotted eagle owl, have been known to nest on the ground. But it's much safer to nest in a tree like this. I've seen photos of other owls nesting in people's plant boxes in their houses in Johannesburg, just there on the ground, in the garden, on someone's porch. So they do like these big trees. Big trees for shade and for camouflage. They can watch the world go by. They've even been known to take over the nests of other large raptors, such as tawny eagles, maybe even a martial eagle if they're really brave. So stealing the nest of somebody else. You wouldn't nest there afterwards or during the same period, would you? Okay, so 62 centimeters. That's 2 rulers tall, and the female, always a bit bigger than the male, gets up to about 2.5 kilograms, 2.3 kilograms, which is pretty big. As owls go, very big, an animal that can fly effortlessly with a very limited sound. And as I discussed, their food can range from monkeys, warthog, piglets, large birds, including daytime birds of prey, namely the Pell's fishing owl, herons, and flamingos. So they don't only hunt during the night. They've been known to catch prey during the day, but I'm actually sure that what they do is they catch those prey while they're sleeping and not necessarily during the daytime. While those animals are having a rest, the owl comes along and takes them out. Aren't they magnificent? Let's see if we can get the eyelids of the other one, BK. See if you can get those little pink eyelids. Can you see them? It's not that clear right now. There we go. Oh, pink eyelids from the Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're going to send you back over to andBeyond Phinda with their lions.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We are still sitting with these lions, and as you can see, they're all still lying down pretty much in the same places as where they were when you last saw us. Still in the shade, trying to rest and keep nice and cool. That young lioness on the left there, trying to get comfortable. Their tummies are still quite fat from the meal that they've had. Must have been earlier yesterday morning or perhaps 2 nights ago. She's just trying to find that perfect way to lie down, that she doesn't get too uncomfortable with that big belly swaying around. And then look at that other lioness there in the sunlight. Looks like she's about to doze off. And have a look at how her mouth is just hanging open a little bit. And she's now stopped. Claire and Madison, you are wanting to know how many lions there are in this pride. Claire and Madison, in front of us here, there's 5 lions. There's the one big male, 7 lions, I can't count today. The one big male, there's 2 adult lionesses, and then 4 sub-adult lions. But within this pride, there's another 2 lionesses that have got 5 very little cubs. And the reason they're not here with this pride is that those cubs are still too small to be in amongst the pride. The older cubs that are here, if they do see the smaller cubs, they'll want to play with them and say hello to them, and in doing so they might bat them around with their paws, and it'll just be play. They won't mean any harm by it, but they could hurt those little cubs. And so that's why the other 2 lionesses are away. So for the time being, there's 7 lions in front of us, but in total in this pride there are 6 plus 7. There's 13 lions in this pride in total. And we're hoping that, well, maybe within the next few weeks, the other 2 lionesses will bring their little ones to come and meet up with the rest of their family. And then we'll have, imagine 13 lions all together, and 5 of them being tiny little cubs. I think that'll be quite a sight. Now, the reason I haven't included the 2 big males in that count is because they actually move between 2 different prides of lions. Now, in the southern parts of andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we are, there's 2 different prides of lionesses. So there's this one here. Then there's another pride that lives far to the south of here, beyond the mountains in the rolling grasslands. And there's another pride there, and these 2 big males move between those 2 prides of lionesses. So they're not kind of bound to one pride, and that's why I didn't include them in the count for this pride. Look at that lioness at the back there. See how she's just lifting her nose into the breeze, sniffing. Now, of all these lions, we said that their bellies were all quite fat. She seems to be the one that has the emptiest belly. I know she's lying down and we can't see it now, but looking at her belly, there was a bit of a fold of skin that was hanging below her belly. And often when lions are starting to get a little bit skinny, if they haven't eaten for a while, that fold of skin starts to become quite prominent, and we could definitely see that fold on her. So I wonder if she maybe didn't get out-muscled at whatever they killed a couple of days ago, and she didn't manage to get her full. Matthew, you're asking how many kilograms of meat can a lion eat? Matthew, they can eat about 10% of their body weight. So a big male, like the one who's lying here in front of us, if he weighs about 220 kilograms, that means he can eat 22 kilograms of meat, which in pounds is about 50 pounds of meat. Can you imagine eating 50 pounds of meat in one go?
That's approaching my level.
Yeah, so maybe for that lioness that we're looking at the back there, if she's maybe about 120 kilograms, she could maybe eat about 12 kilograms, 12 to 15 kilograms of meat in one go. And of course, a lion, because it's not easy to catch prey, it's not like a zebra or an elephant that can just go and grab some vegetation and eat that. A lion's got to hunt another animal, and it's very difficult to hunt and catch other animals to eat. So what these lions will do is that whenever they do catch something and they get the chance to eat, they'll eat as much as they can. Even if they are quite full, they will absolutely fill themselves up, because they never know when the next opportunity will be where they get to eat. Oh, looks like that lioness might yawn. Just saw her licking her chops a little bit there. It looked like she was maybe going to start grooming her paw, and then I just saw that little lift of the lip. She's keeping us in suspense. Maybe not. Sammy, I agree, they do look beautiful in this light, and I think it's only going to get more and more beautiful as the sun starts to head towards the western horizon. And it's lovely to see them out in the open instead of being in a dense thicket, resting in the shade. Look at that lion, it's moving its back legs there, Marcel. Oh, look how she's putting her paw up on that stick. So just like these same lions yesterday, remember how they were lying with their back legs kind of splayed, their bellies exposed to the wind? I think this lioness has gotten tired of holding her paw up, and she's using that stick as a bit of a rest, so that she can keep her belly and the insides of her legs exposed to the wind. And the skin down there being very thin and very soft, and so the cool breeze will help to cool their tummies and their internal organs, and cool the blood throughout their body. I don't know if any of you have got dogs or cats at home that you've seen lie like this. Okay, so I think we're going to leave these lions, seeing as they're not doing too much for now. I don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon. We're going to head off and see if we can find some rhinos. But in the meantime, we're going to send you across to Tswalu Kalahari.
So while one of our tracking teams is actually following up on the cheetah, and it's super warm now, so really hoping that they've actually gone to ground lying down and enables us to catch up with them a little bit. We've got another tracking team that's actually out trying to locate that leopard with a cub. That'll be a long shot, but we never know, so we're going to hold thumbs. But I've just noticed that as we're driving through these thorn thickets, up until a week and a half ago, they were completely green. And you'll notice they're actually going this very pale cream color. And that's actually frost. That's starting to hit these plants hard now. And if you, Chandra, has a look where I'm, got my finger on here, watch what happens to the leaves when we touch it. So they're just starting to fall off the branches now. So what's happening is over months now of the summer, they've been absorbing water and nutrients from the soil, photosynthesizing. A huge amount of energy has gone into producing this fantastic leaf load, which is super palatable, high in proteins, as well as gorgeous flowers. They create these lovely white and pink puffy flowers that the bees actually love. But now they're going into the dormant stage. The water table's down, much colder temperatures, including sub-zero, frost. And so now all these leaves are starting to drop. And if you think in terms of like an energy cycle, what we're seeing on top here, in a couple of weeks' time, all of this is going to be on the ground, falling into little holes, getting carried off by little insects sometimes, getting down old burrows that have been dug, and slowly start breaking down. So that's like just one example of how this whole nutrient cycle, how it's all linked and joined. Then of course you obviously get animals that browse on these, and a lot of the tips, it's difficult to see from there, but a lot of the tips of these branches have actually been eaten. They've actually been fed on. I'm going to, where my finger is here is another example over here. So these are old bite marks. So not only has the tree been producing all this biomass above ground that goes back over here, but a lot of it's actually been transported away in herbivores, droppings and that kind of stuff. The seed pods, you'll notice there's no seed pods on this. So they've also all been eaten or dispersed by, the seed pods are very, very light, and there's normally 5-6 seeds in a single pod. And the wind, we get these massive dust devils out here, and they can transport these seed pods for, kilometers and kilometers. So, anyway, that's just a little bit of anecdotal, interesting stuff. And again, our good old friend, the mistletoe. Chandra is still trying to convince me to get underneath it, but I'm just not falling for it. You see, even these ones are losing their leaves. They're just coming off super easily now. Here, It doesn't snow here often. In fact, in 15 years that I've been at Tswalu, I've seen snow twice. And on both occasions, it was in August, to my recollection. One was definitely in August, and I think the other event was also in August. And when we're talking about snow, we're not going to be doing any skiing on it at all. But it's certainly, we've had places where you get up to an inch of snow packing up. But it's a super, super rare event in these environments. What we do get if it's a very cold snap, going out of winter, going just into summer, and you get this cold front coming in from the Atlantic, you can get sleet, and then within days, hours, in fact, sometimes the temperature can absolutely plummet, and then you can get sleet, a little bit of drizzle, and that is super, super, super cold. And the challenge with that is, if you've had animals that have just started calving, like your herbivores, if they've just started calving, going into summer, there's some nice green growth, and then you get this cold snap coming through. A lot of the very, very young animals can die from that, from exposure. It's really interesting. I mean, all these little things. So, but in the meantime, I think we're going to head on and try following up on those cheetah. So I think while we're doing that, head over to Tristan and see what they got on their end.
Again was a bit awkward the last time with my comms not being, well, not my comms actually, my microphone was playing up a little bit, but I think we've all sorted now, so now I can actually properly introduce myself. My name is Tristan, and David is on camera, back from leave. David, welcome back.
Thanks.
Did you have a nice leave?
Awesome.
Well done, excellent. Glad that you're back safely. Always good when people travel out and in and get back safely. Roads can be a dangerous thing, so nice to have David back on board. Hopefully David will continue to bring us luck like Alex and BK have, and hopefully we'll have a good afternoon. Now, there at the moment, it's still quite warm, so she could just be tucked up in a thicket, and I didn't want to go for long periods of time, so I just quickly drove through, didn't see her, and now I'm just bumbling. I'm just having a little look what else I can find, and then I'm going to go back there when the sun gets a little bit lower, and if she's not there, then from there to the hyena den. So I'm just going to stay quite central to the Djuma property and see what we can find. Hopefully there'll be lots of interesting... Now it sounds like my mic is still giving us nonsense, so while I try and figure it out and sort it out, let's send you back over to Steve.
Thanks, Tristan. Well, we moved on from our giant eagle owls, and very interestingly, I've seen one once before. It looked like it was on a dead tree, and I was quite amazed because it had an enormous long striped tail. So I thought to myself, that's very strange. It was in the dark though, so you shone the light there, and it was on top of a genet. It was standing on a genet, and the genet was obviously quite dead, and it was busy eating the genet, and the tail of the genet was hanging down. Amazing, amazing. Genets are nocturnal predators. They move around and terrorize birds and all sorts of other animals trying to sleep at night. And the giant eagle owl probably caught it moving through. Whether it caught it on the ground or landed on the branch is hard to say, but it was quite something indeed to see. But I've got a wonderful plant for you over here that all of those who know the show and know me quite well know that I am in love with this plant. It's called a dwarf sage. It is a wonderful, wonderful plant for inhaling. It is very, very good for one's nostrils. Got a very strange scientific name, Litogyne garipina. Very strange scientific name, and I haven't been able to find any resources anywhere on how medicinal it is, because many plants that we find around the world have got some form of medicinal use, but this plant I recommend taking a few leaves. BK likes doing this as well. A few leaves just like this, and you crush them like this in your hands, and you just inhale, and it's got the most wonderful smell. It's so aromatic. All the South Africans out there will know exactly what Vicks smells like.
It clears up the sinuses immediately. Anything that might be clearing up or clogging your nose is cleared up, and you feel this immediate sort of energy boost. You're like, yes, let's get on the way, let's get moving. Very exciting. It's my favorite plant. And after the rains we've had for the last few months, we had a very wet season this year. After the rainy season this year, it is growing almost everywhere. So I got back yesterday and my eyes just lit up because everywhere I look there's dwarf sage. Here's one I harvested yesterday. Sustainable harvesting, of course. Ooh, hello Franklins. Martha H12 wants to know if you can eat it. Well, Martha, there's many sages out in the world. Many sages. Can you see him there, BK? You've just got his head, eh? He's there. See if you can spot the crested Franklin, everybody. There it is. Look at the camouflage. Now, if they didn't move, I wouldn't have known they were there. Crested Franklin, quite easy to identify with that white stripe on the eyebrow, but very camouflaged. These birds are very good at hiding and concealing. But Martha H12 wants to know if this is edible. Now, there's many sages around the world that are used for cooking. This one, I've not known it to be used for cooking, but yes, you can eat it. Oh, here's one in the open, BK. Right here in the open. Just over my shoulder. There we go. Hello. A little covey of Franklins. Into the shade. How wonderful. Crested Franklin, one of the species we find here. They are a very good indicator sometimes of leopard. They'll make this is a grrr, grrr, grrr. Very different to what I just did, but something similar to that. And we often use it for identifying where leopards are. But back to the point at hand, we wanted to know if we can eat it. And Martha, you can eat it. It's got quite a flavor. You could probably use it for cooking. I've not tried yet, but it's got a lot of aroma. And ooh, it's very strong. Don't try this at home, boys and girls. I'm going to throw that away. Very strong. You could probably use it in some Thai food. It would probably work quite well for doing some nice spicy Thai food, just to sort of work with those ingredients. But I haven't tried actually cooking any of it yet. I do eat many things. Many herbs and spices out here, many plants. There's a wonderful amount of information in the wilderness of plants and how good they are for many ailments that have been used for many years by traditional people. And it is Monday after all. So a place I've only been to very briefly in my past is in the Kalahari. But I know that over there they've got also wonderful plants. So let's go catch up once again with Tswalu Kalahari.
So you can see how dry it is here at this time of the year. The grass cover's absolutely minimal. A lot of forbs around, but they're very dry now. And one would think it makes it easier for tracking, but in some ways, the sand is so soft and it becomes very difficult to actually pick out individual tracks on this. But we're not going to give up. We're going to keep on going and make every effort to get you guys something. Red dunes are gorgeous against this yellow of the forbs and the grass in the foreground. Sorry Josh, I've just switched the engine off there so I can hear better. Sorry, what? Please repeat the question there. Yes, I'm really sorry. My comms is breaking up a little bit. We're actually on this, just at the back of this dune crest, and our link, I think, is breaking up a little bit. So I apologize. I'm not getting the question properly. Maybe if we roll back a bit. We're just rolling back to see if we can get a better signal there. Jackson, Ben, come in. Jackson, or Ben, come in. Julle my nou geroep. We're going to keep ambling along down here. We're going to be in touch the whole time. Just stick with us. We're going to get these animals. Let's just give it some time. Let's be patient. And in the meantime, head over to Phinda, andBeyond Phinda.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. As I said earlier, we're going to go see if we can try and find some white rhinos for all of you. So we're busy making our way into some open areas. Because white rhinos like to feed on grass, with the evening kind of coming in now, the temperature dropping a little bit, these rhinos will be getting out of the mud wallows or the deep shade where they may have been resting during the day to try and keep cool, and they'll be heading into those open grassy areas to go and graze. So we're going to go and check a few of those places. There's quite a big waterhole not too far from here where there's lots of mud. It's drying up a little bit now with it coming into winter, so there should be lots of soft, squishy, cool mud for these rhinos to roll around in, and we're going to go see if we can find some for you. And we're very excited because we know that we haven't been able to show white rhinos on WildEarth for quite some time, and so we're looking forward to having the first ones on screen in a little while. Now this morning we went looking for rhinos, and we managed to find quite a few. It was just a pity that we had some technical issues that seem to be all sorted now, thanks to Marcel. So it sounds like a lot of you out there are just as excited as Marcel and myself are to finally being able to show you some white rhinos. So see here in front of me here, we're starting to come into some more open areas with all this lovely long grass. This is just the kind of place where we're going to be looking for these white rhinos. There's lots of thick bushes where they'll be able to come and rest in once it gets a bit cooler tonight. Okay.
Hello again, everybody, and sorry for any technical difficulties that are plaguing us this afternoon. I do apologize for that, but we're finished with the kids' drive this afternoon, back with the regular viewers and everyone else who's watching, kids included. Please, everyone, you're welcome to ask us questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream. We would love to hear from you. And well, I am super excited because what we're seeing right now is a pod of hippos in a Buffelshoek watering hole. The first official pod I've seen. Or to the left, BK, there's a baby. Quickly. A little bit more. There it is. Officially, the first baby hippo I've seen in this watering hole in my time in Djuma. So it's very, very cool. This watering... look how feisty it is. This watering hole got very full with the rains we had this season. I spoke about it earlier, we've had a lot of rain. The dwarf sage is in abundance, and all the watering holes are to capacity. Before this watering hole in my time, there's been one, maybe two hippos in it, and it's sometimes none, and for a vast majority of the time, been completely dry. So hippos require water. Not only water for drinking, like many other animals do, they require that for their habitat. Oh, look how feisty it is.
They need to stay wet. Their body... Indeed, sir. He agrees with me. Their body needs to stay nice and wet, otherwise they dehydrate. And they sleep in the water. So they're a very interesting animal, the hippo. As everybody should know, hippos are mammals. But they behave like a crocodile in a way. Not in the fact that crocodiles eat vegetation. They don't. Crocodiles eat mainly fish and a fair amount of meat. But hippos, they use their body, or the sun and the water. Their body is regulated the same way a crocodile or a reptile would, by heating up in the sun and cooling down. Okay, there we go. That was a very big mouth. And cooling down in the water, heating up in the sun. So very, very useful energy conservation method. Water cools you down very, very quickly versus the air, the ambient air. Even when it's quite warm, it cools you down a lot quicker. And you can conserve an enormous amount of energy, which means your diet can be reduced. So a hippo feeds on equivalently a third of the amount of food that a rhino, white rhino, feeds on. And by all means, they're quite similar in size. So 1/3, can you imagine? Only having to do 1/3 of the shopping to have the same outcome. Very helpful, very useful, but then when it comes to drought and watering holes and rivers drying up, hippos are in critical danger of overheating. I am being summoned on the radio. If you just give me 1 second. Standing by, Tristan. Yeah, affirmative, just. I came in from the actual boundary. I followed the tracks up and then up towards Pangolin.
Okay, copy. I just see that there's tracks over here, but it looks like on top of vehicle tracks. Also, we'll scratch up and just see if your vehicle cuts in at any point.
Copy, Trist. Yeah, the tracks came in and out, and then they only went back in as far as Elephant Skull Road, and then they went back over to Twin Dams. So if you see 3 and 1 on top of vehicle tracks, I think you're right on the money there.
Alright, copy. I'll have a look. Yeah, thanks, mate.
Sorry about my game drive radio being open. You could hear Tristan and I conversing there. He's following up on tracks of Tandy. I followed up on her tracks this morning, and it seemed like she went all the way out to Little Gowrie last night, and then she came back in again. I didn't see in the tracks a cub track, but it's possible she's moved her cub down south. So Tristan will figure it out. He's got quite the investigative nose when it comes to tracks. Anushka, you want to know where the mammary glands are on a hippo, and I do believe they are between the back legs, like the rhinos. The back legs, almost like a cow, and the Afrikaans word for a hippo is actually translated is a sea cow. Interestingly enough, although they have been recently classified, or quite a while ago now, into the family of the whales. And you might want to know why that is, Anushka. It's very interesting. Hippos live in water, they breed in water, they sleep in water, and they mate in water, as do whales and dolphins. So those many facets, and they also communicate a fair bit in water as well. Those little characteristics have put them into land-walking whale. It's quite interesting, isn't it? The youngster will go underwater and suckle mum in the water, holding their breath for quite some time, because hippos can hold their breath for, it's debatable. Some people say 6 minutes. I've heard up to 9 minutes. It's a very long time. I think I can maybe push about 1 minute 50 and I'll start struggling, but it requires a lot of practice. Oh, PK, here we've got a little, ooh, we had a little grebe. See if it pops up. We love doing birding when we're at these little watering holes. Little grebes moved in quite shortly after the... There's another one over there, actually. There's an adult little grebe. There's the adult. Dab Chick was the previous name. Little Grebe is the name. And they are avid swimmers. duck right under the water. And I think James Hendry, before I got here for some time, he spent some time with a female with offspring. And very, very cool to see some of those images. I'm not sure if it was at this watering hole or at one of the others, because after the rain I spoke about, all our watering holes were inhabited very quickly with little grebes, after not seeing them before at any of them. So it's very interesting how quickly these birds can find the suitable habitat, far quicker than the hippos did. Little grebes obviously can fly, and they were able to get you much. Oh, there we go. Let me dry my wings off. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful compromise between a cormorant and a duck, because they can dive and actually go under the water and then still be buoyant. Sheila, as far as I'm aware, they give birth in the water, but I've never witnessed a hippo birth. But I think for the safety point of view, when we talk about hippos, another energy conservation that they go through, it's hippos in comparison to rhinos once again. Rhinos have got a gestation period. White rhinos are 15 months. Hippos, a very low 9 months. Now that's the same as a human. And our development is very, 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 very limited. We are very underdeveloped when we're born. And so a hippo can give birth at 6 months earlier than a white rhino, which means it puts her under far less stress than she would have been if she was pregnant for another 6 months. 6 months is an enormous period of time in the scheme of things. And so they give birth, I'm almost certain, in water, or at least next to water. And then the mum is very protective of that youngster, keeping quite close to her. And the development is a little bit slow. Obviously there's a pod for protection, but the mum will go off to the side and get away from the noise and the robustness of the pod and the big male, and she'll give birth in a little bit of isolation so that the youngster doesn't get squashed, doesn't get drowned, and then soon afterwards, I'm not sure exactly how long, a few weeks or so, we'll move back to the safety of the group. But young hippos are very, very prime prey for large predators, and they will have to follow mum in the early stages for feeding, and then the decreased amount of feeding allows them to get back to the water in enough time. Okay, well, back over to andBeyond Phinda. I seem to think they have a surprise.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, and look at what we have managed to find. An enormous white rhino bull. And if you have a close look, I don't know if you can see with the camera, but look at how his body is almost a two-toned color. Remember earlier I was saying that during the heat of the day, these white rhinos would be rolling around in the mud trying to keep cool. And look at how he's been lying up to his belly in some lovely soft cool mud, trying to just relax and keep cool in the heat of the day, and also to help him to get rid of some parasites. See now how he's got his head down to the ground, using those big square lips of his to crop up the grass. Beth, you're saying this is magnificent? I absolutely agree with you. Oh my goodness, there's two more. There's two more just to the left of him. Now for now, I know they're quite well concealed behind the bushes, but just looking at the way in which they're feeding, they seem to be, see how they're kind of feeding slowly towards the right. So I think if we just sit here patiently, we'll be rewarded with a view of them coming out into the open. I don't know if you can hear the sounds of them munching on the grass. I'm going to keep quiet for just a second. Let's see if we can hear them. So I think you're just getting some faint sounds of them pushing through the dry grass and the odd little crunch as they crop up a bunch of lovely fresh grass. So see, there's the third one that's just come out into the open. Look at how it's got its head lifted up. now looking towards us, and those big trumpet-shaped ears facing in our direction, busy listening to us. And all three of them still feeding away. And it looks like they are going to come a little bit more towards us. Wouldn't that just be fantastic if they come out into the open? Look at the dust that's rising up out of the grass. Quantum ZA, you're asking how we can tell the difference between a black and a white rhino apart from the mouth. And to answer that question, I'm just going to ask Marcel just to take the camera off of the rhinos for a second, just so that I can show you here on this little diagram here. So there is the white rhino, the species we're busy looking at, and there is the black rhino. We're very lucky to have both species here at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. But to tell the difference, apart from the shape of the mouth, some of the things we can use is the size. So see, the white rhino is a bit bigger than the black rhino. See also how, because the white rhino feeds on grass, it walks with its head, its natural neck position will be with its head close to the ground like that. If it were to lift its head, like that one that we just saw now was doing, there would be a big bunch of muscle that would form kind of between the shoulder and the ears, and you can see that big hump on the back of the neck. Another difference is of course, what they feed on, and that ties into the shape of the mouth. The white rhinos being predominantly grazers, so feeding mainly on grass. The black rhino feeding mainly on twigs and leaves. Habitat preference a little bit as well. Often white rhino will... Oh, the big bull has just come out into the open again. I'm going to ask Marcel to take you back to the big bull. He's just stepped back out from the bushes. And look at how muddy his left-hand side of his body is. He must have been having a ball in that mud wallow. Look on his back. There's a stick on his back. He must have walked through maybe a dry bush, and a branch broke off and got stuck or landed on his back. Londeka is saying that the stick is catching a ride on the back of this rhino. So, Wanton Zede, another way that we can tell the difference between white rhino and black rhino, and this is a perfect opportunity to illustrate it, is have a look at this white rhino saddle. So exactly where that stick is lying. Look at how shallow that saddle is. With a black rhino, that saddle tends to be a lot deeper. Listen to the sounds of him crunching away in the grass there. Every now and then he just lifts his head out of the grass, kind of sniffs around looking for the next best patch. And I hope all of you are getting some fantastic screenshots of this rhino. I wonder if this is the first few screenshots of white rhinos that will be taken on WildEarth. Shelley, you're asking if these white rhinos will travel in herds or independently. Shelley, a big bull like this will normally be by himself. So at this size and at this age, he's definitely a dominant territorial bull, and so most of his time will be spent patrolling his territory alone, scent marking to keep other bulls out. In the case of females, they will often move with other females, or even sub-adult rhinos that are not yet at an age where they can start competing for a territory. They'll also form little groups, sometimes joining up with adult cows. Sometimes groups of rhinos, of white rhinos, will come together around food resources. And all the flies that are buzzing around his back. I don't know if you were able to pick that up, just the flies that flew past along his back there. So Shelley, it depends. cows with older calves, cows without calves, and sub-adult rhinos, they will often travel in groups, whereas old bulls like this will often be by themselves, and often a mother white rhino with a newborn calf will also spend time by herself, just her and her youngster together. They will just give the time, or give the calf that time to bond towards its mother. It will reduce the risk of having another rhino accidentally trample her little calf. Isn't this just magnificent, everyone? Look at the beautiful golden light that's falling onto his back. And just such a peaceful scene. Andrew, you're asking if these rhinos are aggressive. Andrew, they may be aggressive if they feel that they need to defend themselves. These rhinos are so used to the presence of the vehicles, though, that we are not a threat to them. If this bull were to be confronted by another territorial bull, then yes, he would get very aggressive. If a female rhino were to have if she suddenly found herself in a position where predators like lions or hyenas were trying to attack her calf, then yes, she would also become aggressive then. But generally they just move around grazing and minding their own business. They're so big that there's nothing really that phases them too much. So I don't know if you can see, every now and then this big rhino bull lifts his head ever so slightly. And remember earlier I was saying how when they do lift their head, it forms that bunch of muscle on the back of the neck between the shoulders and the ears. There we go. See how it's happening now? That's exactly what I was talking about a little bit earlier. And still that stick, hitching a ride in the saddle of a rhino's back. And it seems like they're all kind of moving in a circular motion around each other. So there must be an extra nutritious patch of grass here that they're busy feeding on. There's been continuous crunching pretty much from the time that we got here. And as I was saying earlier while we were driving in this direction, that now with the cool of the afternoon, this is the time that these rhinos are going to be feeding. They've been resting, lying in the mud wallow during the day, and now it's time to take some food in before it gets a little bit chilly tonight, where they might go and rest again. Oh, there's an oxpecker. See, the oxpecker just landed on the back of the rhino. A red-billed oxpecker. And just like you would have seen red-billed oxpeckers, I'm sure, sitting on the backs of hippos and buffalo and giraffe and other herbivores, this oxpecker has landed on this rhino to come and search him for any sign of any ticks. Oh, he's decided that this rhino is not worth it, so he's moved off. I don't know if you were able to hear that. There was a kind of a loud exhalation, a bit of a again. Could you hear that? It almost sounds like someone breathing in and out deeply. That hissing, huffing sound. And that was being made by, we can't see it now because unfortunately they're behind the bushes, but that was being made by one of those other rhinos. So I wonder if perhaps, I haven't been able to see yet, but I think that these two other rhinos might be females. And perhaps this big bull is sticking with them because he thinks that one of them might be ready to mate soon. And maybe just getting close to that cow. Or decided that she wasn't quite liking his advances and just reminding him to keep his distance. And in terms of rhino courtship, if that cow is coming into estrus, then so begins quite a lengthy courting process where this bull is going to have to follow this rhino cow around for days and days and days, keeping other bulls away from her and mate. He'll obviously have to make sure that he's the bull that's with her when she is ready, and so you have to fight the other bulls away and prove his fitness. I think we're going to stick with these rhinos for a little bit just to see where they go, but now as they head into some thick cover where it's quite tough to see them, we're going to send you across to Ngala where they've got some jackals.
Been driving around checking quite a few of these open clearings for any really signs of any unusual predator like wild dogs or anything, and this is the first real sign of life that we've seen in the last while, and they're getting up and moving away from us, which is great. They were lying down in the shade, and we were starting to think that these could be potentially the same two jackals that we saw from this morning. If you were watching, we had a pretty similar view of them trotting in the open grasslands. It does look like it's two adults, so I was saying it could be a male and female. And within this area, we have noticed that they have had a litter of at least 4 pups that might still be around here. And if they're walking in that direction, or trotting at least, then maybe you'll get to see them with the pups as well. And it's just around the corner there. It looks like they've all of a sudden changed direction. They were running away from us, and now they've cut right. But that one there is just trying to mark its territory. Let me see. Going to be quite a nice gap here. And they've just stopped in the clearing. They're watching us. One's frozen and off it goes. A couple of squirrels that are alarm calling around. You might hear the chittering noise of the squirrel. Ooh, and an animal that's slightly bigger. There's a big elephant coming up. Those jackals look like they might have moved off, and this elephant is in a really nice spot. So let's quickly go and have a look at him. Sunlight looks beautiful on it. Just come around here. There we go. I wonder if this elephant maybe encouraged those jackals to change direction. I don't think the elephant would be too concerned about them, but elephants are sometimes a bit uneasy around any type of predator. And so if those jackals were running straight down this road and the elephant saw them, they could have potentially gotten chased or trumpeted at least. So whilst we wait for this elephant to appear from the bushes, we're going to send you back to Djuma where Steve is waiting for you.
Well, everybody, sorry about the technical difficulties. Indeed, we had a marvelous sighting now of a Burchell starling eating a centipede, which was those things. Centipedes are the one insect that just makes my skin crawl. Makes my skin crawl indeed. And we moved on because he finished eating it and flew away. Just had a track of a male lion there now. We're on our eastern boundary with Torchwood. The Telemarty Pride that Tristan had the other night killing a warthog was just around the corner here. They spend most of their time in the north in Buffelshoek, where they rarely come into Djuma, just slightly. But then the Torchwood Pride hangs around here and sometimes crosses in. But for the most part, where we are on my right-hand side is Djuma, and it's the territory of the Djuma Pride. But the Evoker males, if you haven't met them, they are 3 boys who have been hanging around, and they've been sort of integrated in this area for about 2 years now, maybe just over 2 years. So they are the fathers of all the little cubs in the north here at the moment, which is quite exciting. But we're not often finding them together, so one at a time And when we find one track, it's generally up in the north, it's generally belonging to the bigger of the three, an individual by the name of Darkmane. He's a very, very, very big male who broke his foot in August of last year in a buffalo encounter, and he's managed to come right. You wouldn't imagine having your foot, all the bones in your foot break, and then just walking it back into condition. Can you imagine doing that? No physio, 200 kilograms or 230 kilograms of weight, and just walk it back in. No, we humans are sissies when it comes to that. We need medicine and doctors and physio. In the animal world, he still has to compete with other lions, and he still has to fight off hyenas, and he still has to follow the females around to reproduce. So survival of the fittest right there. Anyway, there was a track of him there and it disappeared. Did have his tracks going through the property yesterday. Sometimes he decides to bounce between the northern pride and go down and try to find the Unkuhumas. He was calling on Saturday night, so 2 nights ago, when I arrived back at Djuma, calling quite vigorously, and he walked straight through the property and was out. But it's possible he'll be coming back again, so we'll be keeping our eyes peeled for that. But they love to walk along these major boundary roads. Edward, yes, the big cats have been doing very well. It does help having Tristan around to track them, but the lions have been coming in. It's something we'll notice more and more with the buffalo moving through, specifically for the lions, that is. They love to follow buffalo, and with the rains we had, I spoke about them before, the rains have brought not only the availability of water, which is very important, but also length in grass, which buffalo require. They like long grass habitats. They don't like short grass, they like long grass, and so they move in, and the lion prides follow them. We had about 1.5 years or 2 years of drought, and we hardly saw any buffalo except directly after the rainy season. The water holes never really filled up, and in the time I've been here, this last 6 months or so, has been the only time that we've really had populations of buffalo on the property. But in saying that, they also move through between this one and that one. I was tracking some this morning that came in from the north here at Buvosuk, where we were before, and they went all the way down through the south and out. So they can also do that, and it's possible. That's why the lions move as far as they do. They chase the buffalo, and the lions keep following. But I'm hoping to catch up with the Unkuhuma pride in the next few weeks. I do miss them. Spent a lot of time with them and their little cubs. But it's nice to just bumble along down a boundary road like this, see if there's any tracks. I know for a fact that no one checked this road this morning, so we could be lucky ourselves in bumping all sorts of individuals. And there is an old leopard track going in the other direction. Okay, I wanted to go in and check this other pan. Hello, Mary and Hector. The fastest animal in the world is actually a bird, the peregrine falcon. But you're obviously talking about a mammal, aren't you? And it would be the cheetah. The cheetah can get up to extreme temperatures. They do. They get up to very hot temperatures when they run very fast. About 112, 115 kilometers an hour, which is very fast. Obviously, lions and leopards are not that far behind, but they don't go that far. A lion and leopard at full sprint. 92 kilometers for a leopard, 90 kilometers for a lion. They cover that distance, but they don't go very far. It's more of a sprint to catch something, and then they give up. Whereas a cheetah can go a few hundred meters at that pace, but then they quickly overheat and they have to slow down to cool down. But then in saying that, Impala are incredibly fast. So are Thompson's gazelle, which you don't find here in Springbok. Very fast animals. But then the Thompson's gazelle and the Springbok are some of the primary food for cheetah, so they need to be very quick. Open plain specialists, they can't just hide away like many of the animals do here in this sort of more moist savanna on the east side. They have to run, and if they're not able to run, not just run, but proper sidestep, they can't sidestep the cheetah, they're gonna get eaten. So the evolution of the cheetah's speed has evolved with the evolution of the speed of the prey animal. And then the cheetah's got this very long tail. We see a leopard's got a long tail, but that's for balancing in the tree. A cheetah's tail acts as like a rudder. As they're running at full speed, the Thompson's gazelle does a 45-degree turn to the right. The cheetah balances by throwing the tail out. If it didn't do that, it would just completely just barrel roll over its side. So the cheetah is the fastest land mammal, and they're able to achieve that by having claws that are out permanently. So what we call non-retractable claws or non-protractile claws. Like a dog, they stay out. And the fact that their tail for but non-retractable claws or non-protractile claws, like a dog, they stay out. And the fact that their tail for most herbivores have got very long legs, and they're able to get much further. So if I put a box like this and I had to try run like this, you're not going to go very far with your steps, but bend or get longer legs, you're going to get further, but bend your back, which is what the cheetah does. The cheetah is able to completely bend their back so that the legs can push much further out, so increases their stride length. They don't have very long legs like the herbivores, but through that ability they're able to move at incredible speed, and it's quite something to see. Okay, well, we're going to continue on heading south down here, and I know Tristan's trying very hard to see if he can figure out where Tundi's gotten to. Let's go see how he's getting along.
We haven't, Steve, unfortunately. We did find something really cool, which we'll get into just now. But it's been a real battle against the gremlins for us this afternoon. We've struggled heavily with audio and with signal, and I don't know why. Rusty's just having a little moment today. This morning it started when we were with Tundi, and this afternoon has continued. But I think we're all good now. We've fixed microphones, we've checked antennas, so I think we're good. Cross fingers. But we were cruising the Mulawati just from Twin Dams up, just to kind of see if there's anything in the riverbed, just checking along, and we saw a squirrel shouting. And as we saw the squirrel shouting, we looked to our left, and eye level with us is this black mamba, and it was just sitting on the bank staring at us. And so we managed to get a little recording of it, which we're going to play for you now, for those of you that might be interested in seeing a black mamba. Really cool to see, so we'll let you have a look at that. So how cool was that? It's been a while since I've seen a black mamba. It's obviously not a snake that a lot of people really like. It's obviously incredibly dangerous, that snake, and you've got to be a bit careful. And David and I were laughing because at one point when we parked, it literally was at the same eye level as me. And I was saying to David that, did he get the same feeling that I did at one point, that you kind of have this moment where you're like, if this snake decides to come towards us, we've got no chance. Because it was literally, what do you reckon, Dave, 2 meters from the car? I mean, it's as close as this little bush is on our left-hand side. But on this bank, kind of just looking at you, and there's this moment where it hesitates, and it's like, am I going to go towards them or away from them? If I was a black mamba, I think I would just scare people for the sake of it, just go slithering towards them just for fun, and then stop and turn off. But anyway, this little one turned off. Like I say, I mean, it was a medium-sized black mamba. Let's call it not a little one. It was a mid-sized black mamba. But they are incredibly dangerous, as we know. They're the kind of the most venomous of the snakes that we see in this area, mixed with aggression. You know, they've got this aggressive side to them and don't like to be disturbed too much. But the snake was really nice. It was just sitting sunbathing on the bank of the Mulawati. Was really cool to see. Michelle is death almost personified in a snake. It is. Those guys are they've got this creepy look about them, that's for sure. But I have a massive respect for them because they're just amazing creatures. You know, they're not, I mean, they obviously have respect for them, but they, little cub, leopard cub on the tree. So I don't know if Tundi's here, but little one is sitting, looking as, you are just the most chilled cub in the world, aren't you? And you're just hanging out. Is this what you do now? How's this? I don't see Tundi anywhere. We were just coming back. I said late afternoon is a good time to find her coming back to the den, but our cub is just like, well, you know what, I don't need mom. I'm going to be a rock star on my own and just pose as beautifully as I possibly can. David, I told you it was chilled, eh? It's ridiculous. What are you doing? You can't sit out in the open like this. Or is this just how we roll? That's ridiculous. So from mamba to leopard cub, super cool to see. Now, you can see that this little cub knows that trees are a good place to rest already. Maybe that's a good sign for things to come, because mom is not a huge tree cat, but this little one has decided that is the perfect place to rest in the afternoon, and why not? I mean, it looks really comfortable. I'm just surprised that it's out in the open like this. Generally, when mom's not around and it hears a car coming, it normally scuttles off to go and hide. Most cubs will do that, even relaxed ones. They're not going to be in a situation where they're going to sit out in the open without mom being present. So I don't know if maybe Tundi's just lying somewhere close by, in the shade somewhere, but it's just ridiculously relaxed for a little leopard cub, that's for sure. It's not every day that you're going to get to see a cub sitting like that out in the open with mom not really close or nearby. Alright, so we're going to sit here with our little cub and enjoy it posing in the late afternoon light for a little bit. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you across to Dylan, who seems to have found spots of his own on foot. There he comes.
So we've been extremely lucky. Two cheetah males. So these are the males that the trackers have been following for most of the day. From where they were yesterday, straight line, 11 kilometers. And that's obviously, they would have covered a lot more ground in between. And they've just picked this absolutely gorgeous location to lie up during the day. Wonderful vantage point. They can see prey approaching or potential prey approaching. They can keep their eyes open for any potential danger. And it's also a little bit cooler. We're actually feeling the heat out here today. Believe it or not, it's been a nice warm day out here. And but this breeze on top of this dune is probably exactly one of the reasons why they're up here. They don't seem like they're going to be going anywhere soon. But the trackers that followed them and located them, Clementine, this is totally insane. And it just shows with a bit of effort, it pays off. You get the dividends. And Jeandre and I, we can put our hands on our hearts and say we weren't the ones that put in the long man hours for this. We've actually been out since very early, just after coming back. We grabbed a bite to eat and then came out to follow up on the leopards, which we haven't had a huge amount of joy on. But at least our trackers, really, they showed us up in terms of who can really track out here, and it's them, not us. So, we owe this sighting to Jackson and Ben, who are just two remarkable trackers. That little ear flicker, that's sweet. Obviously a little fly there or something that's bugging it. Excuse the pun. But what a backdrop, eh? If Jeandre is able to zoom out, Paul, this distance that we're at now, Jeandre is zoomed in quite a lot. We're still about 60 yards from these animals, and we won't approach closer than this. You can see the key thing there is they are completely relaxed with our presence. They're not getting up, they're not running away from us, they're not interested in us. Sure, they looked at us when we came up, as they would if a let's say a giraffe came ambling over the dune, they'd do the same thing. But now they've gone straight back to sleep. And I think that's the very important thing with any game. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a mongoose or an elephant or a lion or a leopard or a cheetah or a buffalo, is don't try to get too close to animals. There's no need for it. There's no need to disturb animals. There's no need to harm animals. And for us, this distance is super comfortable. The other benefit of keeping a safe distance, the other benefit of staying this kind of distance away relates to a question that Hannah has just asked. Well, what if they see us? Well, Hannah, they actually have seen us. As we were walking towards the dune, one of them stuck their head up, had a look, and it went straight back to sleep. So if that answers your question there, and related to what I'm saying, is that we're posing no threat to them at all. They don't see us as a prey item. But the other big advantage with keeping a distance is that there's always the potential for them to see something else that they may regard as a prey item, like a steenbok or a duiker or a springbok in the distance, and then they can actually move down the dune and start hunting with us posing no kind of interference in that hunt. So that's very, very cool. It's a real privilege to be with these animals like this. But while we're waiting to see what they do and keeping our distance, I think head over to Tristan and the leopard cubs.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they end up getting up to with Dylan. I'm sure they'll kind of get going soon, but this cub is ridiculous. I have never seen a cub of this age, even Hosan and Shongile, without mom sitting like this. Now, the reason I'm stayed and haven't left her, now normally we'd just leave her straight away. If mom wasn't here, we'd go, but there's squirrels, impalas, and birds alarm calling, and I can hear it's whatever it is moving, so I think Tandi's on her way towards the cub right now. I think she is somewhere very, very close. You might actually be able to hear the squirrel from behind me at the moment. So the cub keeps like looking in this direction, and so I'm pretty sure Tandi's about to arrive back in this area now. But how cool is this? It's amazing. You're a little rock star already. Have you met your uncle or your half-brother? Because your half-brother must have taught you some tricks. For those of you that don't know who his half-brother would be, it would be Hosana, which is probably one of the most relaxed male leopards that I've spent time with. In fact, even one of her brothers in the form of Tamba, that was one of Tandi's litters before Tlalamba, he was also fairly chilled, but not at this age. Most of leopards at this age, like I say, without mom around, typically don't want anything to do with cars. They hear a car coming, and like I say, they just scuttle and hide. But you can see he's just kind of chilling there, taking it easy. Although now, since the squirrels have been alarm calling and the impalas have been alarm calling, it's been a bit different. You can see his back legs have come up onto the branch. It almost looks like he wants to move a little bit, and he's listening to those squirrels and paying attention. And that will be because he's probably already learnt that is potentially a sign of danger. So you'll find that he'll be a little bit more aware, and if he sees something, he'll just scuttle off that branch into a really dense, thick area. But that is just cuteness overload. I can't believe how relaxed this little cub is. I mean, we were talking, we were driving, and he didn't move at all. And even now, you know, normally if they feel like they haven't been spotted, then they'll stay. But as soon as you stop, often little cubs will skulk and go and hide. But he's not doing that at all. I can't tell you how cool this is to be with this little one. It's been weeks of looking for him. Hey, little one, are you listening to the squirrels? I'm sure mom is going to appear shortly. Like I say, we had impalas, squirrels, everything. So, pretty sure she's here. And it's in the direction of where she was this morning, so she could be coming back now. Alright, we're going to just sit here for another 2 or 3 minutes to see if mom arrives. And while we wait, let's send you across to andBeyond. Phinda are busy watching the rhinos as they move off, and I must admit, I'm quite jealous of the fact that they get to see them.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're still with these 3 white rhinos. See those 2 cows crossing the road and the big bull just off to the right of them. Currently busy scent marking. And give him a second and I'm sure he is going to cross the road too, following behind the 2 females. Look at this, here he comes, crossing the road. Look at that. And still with his little stick on his back. Sammy J and I agree with you. It is a magnificent view. And they're starting to move off into this very thick bush on the left here where we won't be able to follow them. So let's try and move just a bit further forward and see if we can get one last glimpse of them before they disappear. Let's go nice and quietly. We'll just take it nice and slow. Now, while you were away, one of those cows got very aggressive towards this bull, and it's becoming more and more evident that she is getting to the stage where she's going to be coming into estrus, and this male is showing interest in her, and she does not like that. She came running towards him, making this almost like grunting, bellowing sound. So I'm just going to stop us there. Let's just take us back a bit. Okay, there we go. Of the
Unfortunately, a little tech glitch, but I'm sure the guys will get it sorted out. But how nice is it to see rhinos on the screen? And it's amazing to me because I always think that it's something that really needs to be spoken about so much more, the education about rhinos, the plight that they're in, and to try and build the species up as a charismatic animal that people start to care about. I often find with animals, particularly on what we do, people start to bond with them, and the more they bond with them, the more likely they are to support some sort of conservation work within the rhino sort of sphere, or any animal really. And so, you know, I'm really glad that we can have a situation where we can spend time with rhinos and talk about them and have conversations about them. It's really kind of a cool thing to see. Anyway, the squirrel has stopped shouting, but I keep hearing stuff around here, so I'm sure Thandi is right here somewhere. Just haven't spotted her yet. I'm waiting for that little chuffing sound or that little soft contact call, which will then indicate where she is. But like I say, if we don't see Thandi within the next 2-3 minutes, then we're going to move on. We'll leave the little cub to itself. But this is invaluable for us as a effort to get this little cub habituated. Spending time with the cub at this age and showing it that we are not hurting it, we're not going to go near it, we're not going to kill it, we're not going to chase it, is absolutely the best way to habituate cubs. And in a situation where we're going to have the benefit later on of being able to watch this cub grow and become this, you know, young male leopard. And young male leopards for me are always one of the most amazing animals to watch. They generally are full of nonsense, as was evidenced by yesterday morning's play session. And they just have this kind of way about them that is incredibly fun to see them growing up. And I mean, if this little cub survives, we're in for an absolute treat over the next 2 years. If I just think of the sightings we had of Tamba and Hosanna and what those two cats gave us, having this little one around is going to be amazing. I mean, look at that. You're more relaxed than your older sister, Tlalamba. You know that. Even Tlalamba at this age, at her age, where she's now a leopard on her own, doesn't even sit this still for us, or your mommy, to be honest. Look at that. He's got such a serious face like his older brother. So Tamba, who was, like I say, the litter before Tlalamba, Thandi's litter, had also the most serious look on his face all the time. He always looked like he was this business cat and he had things to do. And so not a goofy face. And this one is the exact same. It's got this serious little face. He's watching us and just making sure that we know who's in charge already. I can promise you that, little one, that you have already melted many a heart this afternoon. Oh, look at that. To show the confidence to turn its head away from us and almost start falling asleep while we sit here is unbelievable. Look at that. Little one, you are very trusting of us already. It's so cool. That is just adorable. Never too late, you say. That face is so cute. I know. I mean, like I say, I'm sure he's melting hearts around the world right now. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? Oh. I can't believe this little cub is falling asleep on a log in the open with us watching it. I would have thought he would have seen us and would have gone in behind some sort of vegetation where he's not exposed. But, I mean, he's just like, well, you know what? I'm destined for a life of stardom. I might as well just start from a young age. And I can assure you, a sighting like this is as special as it gets, and is going to ensure that he does become a little star in his own right. Wow. I don't think a lot of people appreciate how special this is and how lucky we are to see a cub behave in this way. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time around leopards, and particularly cubs, and over 11 years of following them around. I can assure you that this is probably other than Tiani, this is the only cub that I've seen behave like this, where it's at this age so relaxed with our presence, where mom hasn't been right near it. It's an amazing thing to see. Even Tiani, to a degree, when she was on her own, when we used to find her on her own sometimes, she would just kind of creep off and, you know, wouldn't really sit out in the open like this. Wow. Little one, you are as cute as a button, that's for sure. Look at the size of those paws already. Can you see his feet are almost the size of his head? He's got monstrous sized paws already. It's something that's quite interesting with Thandi. All of her boys that she's had through the years, so Wabayiza, Bohuti, Tamba, all have had massive feet and big ears. It's a weird trait that they've got. They just tend to get it. I will say this though, he looks slightly different to what the cubs, or what Tamba looked like when he was a boy, and even Wabayiza. They had a slightly different look about them. So maybe it is a different father. Well, we know that Wabayiza was different to Tamba, but maybe it's a different grouping, and not Tingana that's had this cub with Thandi. Maybe Mulawati. I mean, it's difficult to say. Could even be quarantined, given that she spends time on Torchwood. But the fact that she's moved the cub this side would probably strongly suggest Mulawati or Tingana would be the likely two. All right, well, I'm going to sit here and probably leave fairly shortly, because no sign of Thandi just yet, and it's the right thing to do. And so while I just probably have one last look around for Thandi, we might do one more little short segment with this little one. Let's send you across to Steve and see how he's going this afternoon. Well, how special is that, everybody? Special indeed. Well, we found one of our resident Bateleur eagles. And I wonder out there how many of you using the hashtag WildEarth or getting it on the YouTube chat stream can tell me real quick, is this a male or is this a female? And don't worry if you don't know, you can learn something today. And it's very easy to identify them when they're flying, male and female. But, well, that's if you can see under the wing. But when they're sitting like this, not as easy to see, even when they sit next to each other. So send through any answers that you have. And don't forget that no answer is a wrong answer. It's just need for a little bit more insight. It's always important with elements like this to be able to learn and to grow knowledge. Very short tail. You can actually see where the wings come together at the back, and there's no tail there. The juvenile, which is brown in color, has got more of a tail because it's essentially training wheels. And then once they get a bit older, they lose the tail. Also commonly known as a short-tailed eagle, the Bateleur. And the reason why they have no tail, they have very good flight at low altitudes when there's almost no thermals. The tail is used to elevate a bird, and obviously they use it for steering as well as for getting some lift. We see it in the Wahlberg's eagle, which normally got quite a narrow tail. When they're low down trying to get elevation, they fan their tail out, and that picks them up and gives them a bit of elevation. Whereas the Bateleur eagle, they're very good at flying early in the morning when no one else is able to fly, no big birds that is, without expending a lot of energy. And they're able to find the first little bits of animal that might have been killed in the night. And Shamungwe is the local name given by the Shangaan tribe.
shumungwe, and they believe that the shumungwe is always the first bird to find a prey animal, and to mark it as their prey animal, they defecate on it. And you'll often find a dead animal on the ground has got a big patch of white poo on it, and that's often to do from the bird defecating on it, but not necessarily to mark it as his own. Well, we're going to climb down from the tree. We're going to send you all the way over to Tswalu Kalahari, to the two gentlemen on foot, see if they're going to catch up with those cheetah.
Our cheetah are still fast asleep. So, but in the meantime, on this dune crest, there's a number of these lovely, scraggly looking little bushes. And I think many of you will know the flower jasmine, with that incredible scent, that super, super subtle but very, very sweet scent. So this is what we call wild jasmine. And you can actually use it for scenting rooms and that. It's very, very effective. It really pervades a room very, very easily. But what's really interesting as well, it's got this long seed pod on it, like that. And I'm not going to take a lot. This one's actually been parasitized a little bit. But you can actually take, you see it comes out in long strips like that. And you can actually eat this inner part. Very high moisture content, and it tastes absolutely terrible. So don't try it at home, but you can eat it. You know, if you happen to be lost in the Kalahari one day and you need water. But yeah, they also germinate super easily. I think that'd be quite fun as a horticultural thing. So there's a lot out here if you just start looking. I was also looking, and I don't know, I'm going to ask Andre, because he's a master cameraman, if you can actually zoom in on these guys. I don't know if you'll even be able to see them. Can you see those ants? Is that too small? We have the most minuscule ants I've ever seen in my life. And our pangolin researcher, Wendy, who's been working at Tswalu now for 5 years, she's become a bit of an ant guru. So I'd have to check with her who these are. But they are tiny. Each ant individual is probably less than 2 millimeters in length. And again, I know I keep saying it, but it just highlights that on any piece of ground, there are so many things that can actually be found and seen apart from the big ones. See what else I can eat you. What a landscape, eh? Look at that. That's Kalahari. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just when you see the extent of this, the vastness, then you start appreciating just how good these trackers are, that they can locate animals in this kind of environment, and the dedication that they need. Just persevere, keep going, keep going, keep going. But the rewards are there, you know, if you just take your time. We've probably got another 45 minutes to sunset. And hopefully, because we think these males haven't eaten for the past 4 days, certainly nothing substantial that we can see. Hopefully they're going to get up and move in the not too distant future. And then we're definitely going to bring you with on this. So wild jasmine, ants and cheetah, all in one spot. How cool is that? We're going to move a little bit closer, well not closer, but we're just going to get a better angle on the cheetah. And while we're doing that, I think head over to andBeyond in Ngala and see what they've got on that side.
welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. I hope that our signals, or we've at least come into a slightly better area where the signal's good. We might have some exciting news for everyone. It sounds like one of the maintenance crew who was moving from the tented camp to just do some general checkups is now moving back up towards the safari lodge, and in the process he thinks he saw some wild dogs up ahead of him on the road, and so we are going to try and get to him pretty much as quickly as we can, and it will take probably about 15 minutes, but I'd like to do it in 10 minutes if possible. So I'll concentrate on the road. Hopefully we manage to catch them before the sun goes down. It'll be very, very cool if we get to find them. It was something that we wanted to go and have a look for this morning and this afternoon, and it just so happens that as we're looking for them, they appear in exactly the opposite area of the reserve where we are looking for them. So it shows my understanding of wild dogs. But it will be super cool to catch up to them. I think the last time they were on Ngala was probably, oh my goodness, and there's a ground horn, but we'll have to stop at this quickly just because the lighting is so beautiful. Southern ground hornbill right here in the late afternoon sun is just absolutely beautiful. Look at how much that red pops out, that very, very contrasting black color. Now, often where there's one, there's a few more. It's got its head down. Let's see, it might lift up. Yep, there you go, a little grub. Sure. That is seriously beautiful. Alright, I know we're not going to spend too much time here. I would really like to see if we could try and get a view of those wild dogs. So I am going to keep going for now. I just thought it was such a beautiful opportunity for us to quickly show you it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep driving. See if we can cover as much distance as we possibly can in as short a time as possible. Sorry, Lundeka, that came through not so well, but James Richard, you did mention, did you get that comment there, Owen?
It's Dream Dogs.
Oh, the Dream Dogs, okay. Oh, this is probably my favorite time of day to be driving, especially in this area. It's just got this, feels like you're driving on this golden blanket. Okay. So Lundeka says she doesn't trust my driving whilst I'm driving and trying to talk to the audience. So we're going to be sending you back to Tristan, and I'm going to try and catch up to those wild dogs. So hopefully we'll see you soon within the next 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Well, hopefully you do. It'll be awesome if you do. We've left the little cub, obviously, with Tundi not being there. We've left her to itself and closed the sighting. The reason we stayed a little bit and did those couple segments there was just because of all the alarm calls that we heard. We were hoping that Tundi was going to make an appearance. I'm pretty sure she's on her way back to that cub. I'm almost 99% sure. You don't get Impala's alarm calling with squirrels, go-away birds, and rattling testiculars if there's not a predator around, in particular a leopard. So we're just waiting. Ultimately, it would have been worse for us to leave that little cub and drive off straight away, and then Tundi thinks that we've done something there and moves the den, whereas if she comes there and she sees us and we're relaxed and the cub is relaxed, it's going to be a far better reaction to what's going on. So we waited a little bit, the alarm calls died down, we came out basically along the line of the alarm calls to check if we could bump into her going that, but didn't, and so now the sighting is closed. No one else. For those of you that were worried about what was going on, like I say, after 11 years of doing this, pretty sure that we were okay doing what we were doing. So it's part and parcel of being out here. Unfortunately, with den sites, it's all the only way to check them is to drive there. And so sometimes you get there and mom is there and it's great. Sometimes you get there and mom isn't there. You've got to be a little bit careful of what you're doing. But there's also an important part of that whole process of sitting there with her now, is that the last thing we want is to go to that den site, see the cub and rush off, and the cub then starts to think that this thing is there and then it's speeding around her and it's not staying. It was a good opportunity just to park for 5 minutes, watch her, and then carry on again. And so he knows, that little cub knows that we're not in any way a danger to it, and we're not going to hurt it. We've left it unscathed, untouched. And what amazed me about that little cub is when we left, it did not even move. When I started the car, it opened its one eye, looked at me, and went back to sleep, and we drove off, and it was still sitting on the branch as far as I could see from when we left. So epic though to have found the little one there, so chilled. Barbara, who so kindly sponsored our afternoon safari today, you're saying hopefully when there's a real predator, the little one won't be so chilled. I can assure you that if there was a real predator, that would be the case. You must remember that this little cub yesterday in the morning and in the afternoon saw mom with us there, and mom's response to us was not aggressive. She just sat there. She was fine. Well, with me, I don't know with Steve, but it sounded like she was absolutely fine. And so he's learning from her that we're not something to be too concerned about. But what I did notice with that little cub is when the impalas were alarm calling and the squirrel was shouting, the cub's ears were focused and they were looking, and what it did is it pulled its back legs up underneath its bum. Now that's always an indicator from a leopard or a lion or any cat that it's preparing itself to potentially have to move. So already the instinct is there to know that, okay, I can hear alarm calls, that could potentially be something that is dangerous, even if it's mom. I've got to just sit and I've got to wait. Now I'm going to be dead still because I don't want to attract attention to myself. I'm going to rely on my spotted pattern to keep me camouflaged, and then for me just to be quiet as possible and assess what's going on. If it spots a predator, then it slinks in underneath all of that thick overgrown vegetation, and it would be really difficult for a hyena or a lion to get into where that cub is. It would just go into a little erosion gully, and there's this intertwining mass of sticks that makes it near impossible to get into. I know because last time Kalamba was there, when she eventually left, many months later, we did a bushwalk there, and I actually went and looked in there to see what it's like in there, and it is, there's no ways that a lion is going to get in there. I mean, maybe a male leopard if it really squeezed and pushed and tried, and a hyena maybe as well, but even then it's eroded and deep enough that it will kind of form this little pitch where this little cub can get in and get low, and all these branches over the top of it, that it would be really tricky for anything to get to it. So you could see that it was already has that instinct to watch, and so if there was a predator that came, it would just slink away and try and hide. The other nice thing is that seeing it on that fallen over tree means that it's starting to get confidence to know that trees are a safe point. And so if something like even a male leopard came, it can climb onto branches that are thinner than my finger because of its weight, whereas a male leopard is going to go onto a branch this size, it's going to fall and probably hurt itself. So it won't chase a cub any further than that, and even a female leopard won't be able to get to the same branches that little cub can get to at the moment. So, you know, it's at that phase now where its possibility of survival is getting that much better, and I'm pretty sure its reaction to a predator would be far different than its reaction to us. I think it's going off what Tandi did yesterday more than anything else. But I'm pretty sure she's there. I can hear more alarm calls coming from this block, so I'm pretty sure she's somewhere in that area. But we're going to head off to the hyena den. Let's go get some more cub cuteness. And while we do that, let's send you over to Tswalu Kalahari with the cheetahs.
These lads are doing very little at the moment, apart from getting some probably well-deserved rest. We haven't moved closer at all. What we have done just to try and get a little different angle is we kind of moved in an arc around them. But where we are is probably about as good as we're going to get for the moment. So we are hoping that they are going to start standing up, stretching just now. Typically they'll do that and then lie down again. So they can do that a couple of times before they actually move off. Unless, of course, something else comes along. the other advantage, and I'm going to ask Jean-Andre if you can just look at that view behind me. You see these big open plains. The other really good advantage of spending time up in these dune crests is it's a very, very, very good vantage point for looking out for things like aardvark, and if we're very lucky, even pangolins at this time of day. So while we're waiting for these cheetah just to start actually doing something other than sleeping, we're going to sit here and keep our eyes peeled for aardvark. Have a look. I found something really cool here. Sorry, it's very dry and broken. But look at the size of this beetle. He's missing all his antenna, some parts of his mouth, quite a few of his legs, and his whole So Matthew, can we see dung beetles? We're going out of dung beetle time now. It's starting to get too cold in the evenings. But this is similar. This is called a tenebrionid. It's one of the tenebrionids. And just look at the size of that boy. Look at the size of that. But totally harmless, can't bite, and something's already got to him. Look, he's completely hollowed out there. And flightless, eh? You see this covering on the back? It's actually fused, and these beetles are flightless, they don't fly. There are some really cool things out there, eh? Anyway, whether you're at Ngala, Phinda, Pride Lands, Djuma, any of these places, there's just so much life out there, and death, but creating new life. And just take the time to look for the little things as well. So we're going to keep our eyes open for little things while keeping an eye on these cheetah. So we're going to keep scanning these dunes for any sign of aardvark while waiting for this cheetah to do something. And I think head over to Phinda in the meantime.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. Have a look at what we've found. We've come back to this pride of lions, and look at this. 2 of the lionesses have climbed up into this big marula tree. And they're busy scanning off into the distance. Like I said earlier, that, oh, it looks like the one is going to push the other one out the tree. I don't think she means to, but I think she wants to get down. So, remember earlier we said that the one lioness looked a little bit skinnier than the others, and that's her on the left. So perhaps her being a little bit skinnier, she's wanting to try and hunt again, wanting to try and catch something to eat to fill her belly. Listen to the Impala's alarm calling. I don't know if you can hear that barking sound in the distance. The Impalas, I think they've spotted one of the male lions who's just gotten up and started to walk. Oh, alarm calling at him. I hope that lioness wasn't planning on trying to hunt one of those Impalas, because if she was, that male has just gone and blown the whole thing for her. Look at them lying down in the tree. Shame that one on the right is trying to get comfortable, and the one on the left, having now lain down, doesn't want her to move. Every time she moves, she just kind of lifts her lip in a bit of a snarl, saying, "Stop wiggling around, we're going to fall out if you move." Look at how she's lying, almost like a leopard. Look at how her paws are draped over the front of that marula branch, and then her back leg hanging just beneath the branch. Tandon, you say that they're looking over the dinner menu. I think, yeah, scanning to see what's on the menu tonight. I can't see anything for the time being, just looking down into the valley below us. And that's maybe why that lioness on the left has decided to lie down. Now just taking it easy. Look how she's growling again. Ooh. She's saying, stop moving, you're going to push me out the tree. And the other one, oh, she doesn't look comfortable, shame. She's saying, I need to get down from here. And this is where, oh, there's even a bit of a growl now coming from that lioness on the left. And this is where, I'm sure, we've definitely seen lots of leopards climbing trees, like especially yesterday. We saw Thandi up in that big tree with her carcass, and we saw how graceful and elegant and kind of agile she was in that tree. Interesting to see now this lion, how hesitant and kind of shaky she looks in this tree. Now that she's managed to get up into the top, it's almost like she's kind of thinking to herself, how do I get down, or how do I position myself so that I'm comfortable? March, you're asking how high up they are in the tree. March, not terribly high. I would say maybe about 2 to 3 meters up, so maybe about 8 or 9 feet up in the air. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I think they were probably able to jump up there pretty easily. Didn't have to use too much climbing prowess or skill to get up there. And a fall from there shouldn't hurt them too badly if they do get knocked out. Look at that lioness, she's now looking up at the higher branch. Imagine if she jumps up there. She's maybe deciding that there's one lion on this branch, or 2 lions on this branch is too many. And so she's going to try and get up there. Apologies for the sounds of the vehicle in the background, everyone. So see how they're now looking off to the left? And that's where, just looking through my binoculars, I can actually see there is a male lion in that direction. I think it's that same one that we just saw now. He's obviously decided that he's had enough. Oh, listen to the growling again. Oh, she's going up. Yes. Of course now though, she's going to be even more stuck, because getting down from there, and unless that other lioness moves, she's gonna be snookered.
Noise?
Let's just hope that the one on the top doesn't decide to relieve herself while she's standing up there for the sake of the older lioness. Oh, so maybe deciding that the branch she was on not quite offering enough of a vantage point, and deciding that 1 or 2 is too many for that one branch. Maybe just trying to scan a bit further into the distance. Use that fantastic eyesight of hers to scan for any more potential prey. Miss Anamandris, you're saying that they look like trapeze artists. Miss Anamandris, pardon me. I think so, yeah. Maybe not as graceful as a trapeze artist, and it'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to see how they come down. So we'll save our judgments of their gracefulness until then. Look at how she's looking down at the older lioness. Almost like they're on like a bunk bed or something. And now just trying to get herself comfortable. See now she's, like I was saying earlier, it's easier going up than coming down. And now trying to find a comfy spot that she can lie down where she doesn't feel like she's going to fall off. Look at how she's adjusting her kind of footing every now and then. And that lioness on the bottom log, or the bottom branch, the older of these 2 lionesses, and just that much more experience. Perhaps she's been in this situation before. Perhaps she has been the one to hop onto the higher branch and then find herself in this precarious position, and so she's obviously learned from experience and is not going to be joining the other one up there. Look at how her paw was dangling off the edge there. It's quite a steady breeze blowing in from the north. Michelle, you're saying that what goes up must come down. I agree with you, Michelle, and I think that this lioness on the top branch is dreading coming down. But it looks like for now she's managed to make herself relatively comfortable with that. Oh, still reshuffling, repositioning. What is she doing? She's rubbing her neck and her head against that branch. And still, look at how often she shuffles her feet, everybody. I don't know if any of you have ever climbed up into a big tree before. Maybe gotten a bit carried away and climbed really high up into the tops of a tree and then not been able to come down. I know that I've had that before and had it quite recently, climbing up a mountain and then not being able to get down. Heart Glowy, you're asking what has prompted them to climb into this tree. Heart Glowy, I think it's, as we were discussing, it's just to gain that bit of elevation, to use the tree as a vantage point, to scan for potential prey. It may have also been, we've been discussing this lovely cool breeze that's been blowing and how, certainly in the case of the lioness that's lower down, they've got quite full bellies. So getting up out of the long grass and a bit higher up into the breeze to help them cool down. Also been a lot of biting flies that have been flying around in this area, and climbing up into the trees might help them to avoid those flies. Look how they're both readjusting in synchronicity. And that bottom lioness still staring at us and looking back towards the male. Look at her put her foot on her head. Telling her, just stay there. It was comfortable. And very kind of leopard-like now in her posture is that top lioness, but still doesn't look as at home or comfortable as a leopard would. Look at how, as a leopard would. Look at how her tail is still arced and twitching, and it almost looks like her back legs are about to fall off there. Just be careful there. If you let that back leg slide too much, you're gonna find yourself in a battle against gravity. There we go, she's adjusted.
Almost comfortable.
And while this top lioness is kind of monkeying about, if you will, that bottom lioness, look at how alert she suddenly looked off in that direction away from us. Never mind. I thought that she might have spotted something, but she's now turned her attention back to our direction. Isn't this just a pretty scene? Two lions up in a tree. Facing in different directions. It's almost like one of those signs that point in different directions to different cities around the world. We're going to spend a bit more time with these lions and see what they get up to. But in the meantime, we're going to send you across to Djuma and see what Steve has got for all of you.
Welcome back to the Sabi Sands, everybody, where we are just taking a quick moment to look at the moon. And if you have the inclination and the time, please feel free to go to the link below and help support us, bringing you wild and wonderful images from the African wilderness. We really do appreciate that. Absolutely love watching the full moon, or the moon in general, through this camera. You just get all these little edges. If you ever do have a pair of binoculars, look at the moon, you can really get some good perspective of it. Really quite incredible. About the slight jittering of the lens there, it's zoomed in to get you those images.
and just breathing. It's causing the car to vibrate just slightly. Oh, wonderful. What a wonderful evening. Birds are shouting. Had some crested francolins there before. Shouting their evening chorus, trying to attract their mates back to them, and also declaring territory for the day, letting all the other francolins know that this is their spot. Don't dare come and take over. Rico, how wonderful indeed. Does it make one want to howl slightly? I always want to howl at the moon when it's full. I definitely feel that it has some enormous amounts of gravitational effect on my body. Tentacle, you want to howl at the moon? Well, go ahead. No one's stopping you from howling. I howl quite regularly at the moon. It has behavioral changes over the oceans, over the land. How is it not going to affect people? I know many individuals who swear by the fact that the moon affects them. Absolutely gorgeous. Well, from the moon in the sky over to the western side of the country to Tswalu Kalahari to see what they've got for you this time.
While we're sitting waiting for this cheetah, waiting for us, we're looking around on this dune crest, and there's lots of these buckspoor spiders. We had a look at one the other day, which really cooperated nicely. You can actually lure them out of the nest, just not right out, they'll sort of pop out, investigate, and go back in again. But it's this feature over here. And for those of you who haven't yet seen one, there's two lobes like that. That's where the name derives from, because it's reminiscent of a buckspoor. Looks kind of vaguely like a buckspoor. But the females are the ones that live in these web-lined burrows, and the males are just free range. And they actually mimic some ant species called Camponotus ants. If I see one of those, I'll point it out to you. But I'm going to see. I don't know if this one's going to react, but we'll have a look there. There you go. See it? Did you see a click? So she thought we were a prey item. So I'm not going to push my luck. We're going to leave her alone now. But how cool is that? What a incredible ambush technique. Those indentations on the side, and now I'm just thumb sucking now, I'm just talking as I'm thinking here. Those indentations on the side may in some way function similar to an antlion nest, where a insect that walks past gets onto that little sandy slope, may actually just battle a little bit more to get out, which could give the spider more of a chance to actually grab it. But I don't know, I'm just thumb sucking there. But that's just kind of looking at the design. And sometimes that's what you should just do, just sit and look at nature, instead of just, well, that's what the books say, therefore that's what happens. Your own observations are invaluable to science, if they're recorded. And you can do these things in your backyard. You'd be surprised what you can learn about sitting watching nature in your back garden. So I hope this young lady has some good hunting tonight. She's well placed on a dune. We're now 20 minutes away from sunset. Hopefully there'll be a little bit more insect life around for her, and hopefully there'll be some cheetah action for us. So don't go anywhere. Yeah, and that's wow, what a question. What is the rarest insect in the Kalahari? Shush. To answer it plainly, I'd have to say up front, I have no idea. And why I say that is, one would assume that we know what all the insects in the Kalahari are in the first place, which we don't. We are so far off that. What I can say is that we are finding every time we get one of our research teams down here, and these guys can be based here for a weekend, they can be here for 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a time, and a remarkable bunch of people, and I hope to be able to introduce some of the work they do to you guys over the next couple of weeks in terms of what we're learning about out here. But the guys doing the insect work, they're finding new species all the time. And not even new species, we've had guys finding new genera. That's like whole groups of insects. So yeah, that's to say which is the rarest one in the Kalahari, it would be extremely difficult for me, and I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate answer on that. So while I'm pondering rare insects and cheetah, I think head over to Ngala and see what they got there.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're still with this lioness up in this marula tree. You'll notice that the one from the lower branch has now jumped down, and she's walked past us, busy contact calling, no doubt heading off to go look for the rest of her pride. But the lioness on the top branch is still up on top of her lofty perch and still looking off towards the northwest, and also contact calling now. And I don't think it'll be too long before she comes down too. We've been giggling and debating about how she's going to come down, and I think if we are patient, we're going to get to see it. So get your scorecards ready, everyone. I'd love to hear when she does come down how you rate her performance of climbing out of this marula tree. We'll see if she tries to jump down onto the lower branch and then onto the ground, which shouldn't be too hard for a big cat of her strength and agility. Can you hear that soft grunting sound that she's making, that little contact call? There, that little oh. That's her calling out to the rest of her pride. Okay, so apparently it's just not audible, and it's because that sound, although to us we can hear it, it's a very low frequency sound, and the microphone might not be picking it up on the camera. But it kind of sounds, I'll try and do my best impersonation of a lion contact call without sounding too convincing that the lioness thinks I am a lion, but it's something like this. Oh. 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 Obviously wasn't convincing enough that she looked towards me, but that's kind of what it sounds like. And like I said, it's a low frequency sound that will travel vast distances and will help her to keep in contact with the rest of her family. But while we wait for her to come down, we're going to send you across to Djuma, to Steve, who's got some giraffe.
Indeed, we have caught, just as we came, this little young male giraffe was drinking. Now, when giraffe drink, they don't drink for very long. They put their head down to below their ankle level. That's a huge amount of pressure on the brain. They would be anyway if they weren't as designed as they are. You can see it's a young male by the tufts on the top being, the ossicones being quite broad. Licking his lips, that was delicious. Giraffe get most of their liquid, beautiful pink skies behind, get most of their liquid from the vegetation that they eat. They give off a very highly concentrated uric acid type of urine. You wouldn't say it's uric acid like a bird. It's very highly concentrated, very yellow, and obviously their specialized liver allows them to maximize the water absorption in the body. It's a nice little journey of giraffe we have over here. Moving through. We're actually on Chitwa currently. They've been bumbling around for some time, trying to see if we can find anything. There's the electricity poles in the background, unfortunately. Wonderful light on these giraffe. Okay, very good. Well, we've got our spotted giraffe. We're going to send you over to the to the east and beyond Phinda. We've got some cheetah on the move.
So the two cheetah males have just got up and moved a little bit down the dune into the shade. They're grooming each other. We had a wonderful question yesterday about, do cheetah males groom each other for social bonding? And I can't give you a better answer than what they're actually doing in front of the camera right now. And you can see neither of them appear to have any obvious signs of blood on them. In other words, they're not grooming necessarily to kind of keep blood off from a kill, or clean blood off from a kill. This is allo grooming for social bonding. This is very, very, very cool to see this. And this is what I'm talking about when I say just spend time with animals. You know, we can move around from one sighting to another, to another, to another. And yet the advantage of spending time, whether it's a spider or a fly or a cheetah or a leopard, whatever it is, you start seeing the cool stuff when you spend time. So he's either trying to get hair out of his mouth from the grooming. They've got incredibly coarse tongues. Those of you who have any domestic cats at home will know how coarse the tongues are. These are just on a bigger scale. And obviously when they're grooming, that helps get rid of any of the loose fur. It helps remove parasites as well. And then obviously they'll have to try to get rid of that fur. And some of it actually gets into the digestive tract, but then gets passed out. This is lovely to see. They're already a lot more active than they were at the same time yesterday. And I think that's got to do with hunger. You know, we know they, almost certainly it was 4 days ago last that they had caught something. We don't know what it was, but their bellies were really full. So as each day progresses, they'll be getting hungrier and hungrier. Now, Linda, it is very sweet to see this bonding. And it's important for them. You know, they rely on each other for everything, for defending their territory, chasing out intruding males, protecting each other if there's danger around, watching out for danger, helping each other pull down large prey items. So it is sweet to see this. I mean, this is good teamwork, and I think it's a lesson that a lot of us could learn about it. You know, I'm talking generically now. I'm getting all philosophical now. Cheetah make me philosophical. Wow. You may, the incredibly amazing, wonderful, stunning leopard viewing that you've been having with Tristan and the gents down in the Lowveld, you may have noticed the difference in the spot patterns. You know how you can identify individuals, but then if you compare them to cheetah, which we can use the spots to identify cheetah, but look at the difference in the actual spots on a cheetah compared to a leopard. Leopard typically have what we call a rosette pattern. And imagine you put your 5 fingers together in a ball like that, dip them into some paint, and then put them on a sheet of paper. That's kind of like the pattern that you're going to be getting on a leopard. Actually, have a look on the ground over here. The spot patterns on a leopard would be clustered like that. You know, that would be a leopard, whereas a cheetah, it's just like individual spots all over the pelt. But you can still use those different techniques to actually identify individual animals. But we're going from talking about spotted cats, leopards, amazing cheetah, and apparently Tristan has some hyena for you, spotted hyena, so head over that way.
We've just got Ribbon coming to the den. There was no sign of her. We drove down a little bit and picked her up walking to the den, so I'm hoping she's going to call the cubs out. But these hyenas have been feasting today. They are massively round. You can see here comes another individual, which is the first time I've actually seen another hyena at this den. It hasn't been active for ages. Listen. I'm going to keep quiet so you can hear. That's cool. It's amazing to hear the noises these guys make. But these guys have definitely come off a kill. Both of them stink. Ribbon has got blood all over her neck. Her tummy is distended, and we know yesterday that she didn't look like this. So she's definitely gotten a meal during the course of the night. She quickly came and said hello to the cubs, and now looks like she's off again. So I don't know if it's going to be better to follow her and see where she goes, and maybe they lead us back to another kill, and that they just came and checked in with these two little ones. Hello, guys. Super cute little things. But of course, when Ribbon moves off, we can't stay with them, exactly like Tundi's cubs. It's the exact same story, but we thought we'd just come and have a little look. Like I say, there's been one vehicle that's been trying for 10 days to see these little ones, and every time they come, Ribbon's not here. So it's a hit and miss situation. It's why we haven't been to the den a lot, because we keep hearing on the radio it's not active. But obviously, we just timed it perfectly that we bumped into her walking this direction and then followed her to the den, which would have been the easiest way to get a view of these sweet little faces. Hello, you two. Now, like I say, unfortunately, we can't stay if she moves. I'm just watching, just trying to see if I can see her still. She's still there. Okay, we can stay for now, which is a good thing because she's just stopped and looks like she might be turning and coming back again. Maybe she was just scanning around just to see what's happening, but she is definitely still got blood on her neck. So whatever she fed on was either this afternoon, well, must be this afternoon, because generally if it had fed last night or this morning, that neck area would be clean. But she's still got blood all over it. She smells, which is an indication that she's eaten something probably that's got a little bit of a stink to it. So that's normally something that's slightly older. Now, I know this morning Steve said he had vultures and things towards the west, and she came from the west moving eastwards. So maybe she's finished up there, and that's what she's done. All right, you two, your mom has left, so we need to leave you too, and I want to follow her in case she goes back to this kill, because you never know what that could be. Maybe there's a buffalo kill somewhere. We know that the Nkuhumas have been around, lots of buffalo have been around. So yeah, especially with it getting dark like it is now, now's not the time to be with the cubs of any sort. If it was a bit brighter, it would be better to stay with them. But being that it's quite dark and mom moving away, I don't really want to stay. You never know, maybe a leopard comes in or lions or something like that, particularly because of how strong she smells and she's walked in this direction. So Lauren, I mean, these are things that are an unbelievable part of nature. Is how do cubs, in general, I mean, we're not talking just hyenas, know that they must just stay where they are. Same as Tundi's cub. There's going to be subtle little vocalizations and body language from the mother that the cubs are going to understand. And they're going to figure it out, and they're going to know, okay, that is a sign that we need to stay. And generally, if mom doesn't want them to come with her, she's going to move straight away. And we're going to go into infrared as well, but just before I finish discussing this so that David can actually get a shot. So now. But the cubs will have picked up a subtle cue from mom to say, I'm you know, I am in a situation where I'm not going to be staying, I'm just passing. So those little soft calls that we heard, part of that will be communicating to the cubs to say, listen, you need to stay here, we're going to go away. And also, like I say, her body language. If she was going to let them come out, she would have moved and laid down and then would have said something. And let them suckle. All right, now our hyena's on the move. We're going to follow her. Hopefully she might take us back to a carcass. In the meantime, let's send you to other spotty creatures that are also on the move at Tswalu Kalahari.
So these two cheetah boys have just got up and started moving. The one went and scent marked on a tree, and the other one is just lying down in front of us here. But moving steadily away. Obviously we're not going to be able to follow them, and I wouldn't want to follow them on foot while they're moving away like this, just in case we disturb any hunting or anything. But this one might go scent mark. Let's see. Come on, you can do it. Yes. Now he should lift his tail. Turn around with his backside towards the tree, lift his tail, spray. Tick, 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 tick. There you go. Come on, tail up. No, actually he's not even doing that. They're just doing the ablutions now. Yeah. We're incredibly lucky to see this. This is fantastic, man. Gonna follow his brother out. Remember, I was saying earlier in the day, those of you who joined me on the drive, how they so frequently use these shepherd's trees with the weaver nests in them, and they've done exactly the same again. And if you can maybe zoom out. And Lynn, the colours are absolutely, I mean, yeah, I'll battle to find words to describe them. But when you see those two cheetah walking through this plain in this landscape, you just realise the vastness of it. And how stunning it really is. So they're going to be foraging now. So when we say foraging, hunting. Thatcher cheetah females are typically solitary, unless they've got cubs with them, or you've got males that are mating them at the time. But otherwise, your females normally move by themselves. It's your males, like these ones, that go in coalitions. And you can get a group, the most I've personally seen is 5, but typically a coalition is 2 to 3 animals. So the females by themselves, the males in coalitions. And this coalition is now actively hunting. Well, we've got a sublime sunset coming on here. But I think head over to andBeyond Phinda, and they've got some good lion sightings on that side for you.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, those lionesses have unfortunately both climbed out of the tree, and they've rejoined the rest of the pride. Look at this youngster coming to greet one of her siblings and her mother. Look at that. Listen to those groaning sounds, and look at how they rub, just like a domestic cat, how they rub their bodies and their tails against each other. So looking at them, it looks like there's just 5 of them here. That older lioness is missing, and I think she's gone a little bit further down this little track, and that's where that one youngster is heading. So we'll see where they go, and maybe they'll lead us to her. And remember, we said that they were contact calling each other. This is the lioness that was in the tree, the higher branch, the one that's closest to us. And I'll tell you that her dismount was quite graceful, if you were wondering. And Marcel did manage to film it, and so we'll have to post that at a later stage to show you all how she got out of her predicament. Like I said, it was more graceful than I was expecting. She jumped from the top branch onto the slightly lower branch and then down onto the ground. Now just looking back at us, listening for any sounds of potential prey, or of the two male lions who we've left behind us. I think they've decided that, because remember earlier we said that one male looked like he was quite interested in one of these lionesses. We thought that perhaps she was showing signs of estrus, or that maybe there were traces of pheromones in her urine that suggests that she might be coming into estrus. It appears that he's lost interest in her, so obviously that's not the case just yet. And they've now left this pride and gone off to continue with their territorial patrols. Well, Londeka says that Final Control has managed to put together a little replay of what Marcel and myself watched a little bit earlier of the lioness climbing down the tree. So once again, I'd love to know what you give her in terms of a score for her descent out of the tree. Yeah, so please let me know what you thought about her agility coming out of the tree. And look at how tender and loving these little moments are between this pride. Lions all rubbing their heads together and grooming each other. Look at that young male on the right. Looks like he's lapping up the attention, having his mother grooming him. Licking his head. Oh, everyone's apparently saying a 10 out of 10. I think I agree with all of you. She was pretty graceful coming out of that tree. For a lion, yeah. How precious these moments are. Just showing the strong bond that exists between mothers and their youngsters. Zephyr, you're saying that you've deducted 3 whole points from her score because she didn't point her toes.
I agree.
Oh, Marcel also agreeing, a 7 out of 10. I think both of you are very harsh, or perhaps you've got a background in gymnastics or diving. I don't know, I thought it was pretty good. So fantastic just to spend a bit of time with these lions now. With the falling of darkness, and they've all started to wake up a little bit, and they're going to spend the night moving around. Like I said, that younger lioness does look like she's hungry, so she may go off to hunt, and of course the rest of her family will probably follow along. Even though their tummies are relatively fat, if she does manage to catch something, no doubt they'll want to get in on the food as well. Now, apologies everyone, there's a sound of a vehicle coming behind us. I see now the lioness and one of the youngsters heading off in the direction of where the rest of the lions have gone. Okay, we're going to stick with these lions for a bit and see where they go to. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you across to Djuma with Tristan, who's got some hyenas.
We do indeed. We've got Ribbon, who looks like she's had the longest day possible, so they're not taking us to her carcass anymore. I think they've gluttoned everything down. She looks like a little barrel lying on the road. Why hyenas lie this way, I have no idea, but it's a common thing to see, and I'm pretty sure at some point we'll see even the back legs stretch out. Although I think they're too full to do that, because if they stretch their back legs out, they're going to roll down the hill. She's so round at the moment. But that is her in full-on chill mode. She's relaxing as much as possible. Oh, David, did our light go off? Oh, it's back. Well done, David. Yes, our light has been finicky of late. But it surprises me. I'm very, very kind of interested to see her behavior. Watch this. Watch. Look how she sniffs the air. It's amazing to see. She's been doing this the whole time. Head up, sniffing. Isn't that cool? So this is how they sometimes will find kills, is that there'll be a drift on the breeze of the smell of a carcass or something like that, and they then rely on their nose. And she's been doing this a lot. She's been standing on the road and smelling and sniffing and head up in the air the whole time. But what I was going to say is, why I'm surprised is that, you hear her? Someone's talking. They've walked from the den to the road, pretty much a straight line to the road, and they've laid down here. It's almost like they just didn't feel like the nonsense of the cubs right now. I wonder if it's because she's so full that she's just, at that point where she's like, I just can't deal with being jumped on right now. So rather comes to the road and has now found a warm spot, because the road will be warm from the heat of the sun, and that's why they've decided to lie here rather than anywhere else. You can see another hyena behind her lying on the road. You might just see the eyes every now and then. It's quite dark behind her, but I don't know what she's smelling. She's been doing this the whole time, just nose in the sky, and there's not much of a breeze this evening. In fact, it's a very still evening, but there's something that is intriguing her. Emma in Final Control is saying that she's probably smelling that David and Lauren are back, and particularly the fact that David keeps leaving his shoes outside, and that's one of their favorite snacks. So Davia, she's smelt you home and knows now. It's time to come and raid camp again for some chew toys for her little cubs. Emma also said to me that it's like the crew in the mornings when our chef bakes banana bread, and everyone's got their nose in their ears as they go off towards camp. Now I think she's going to just go and investigate that area. I'm hoping that she might call. Nope. Walking off. No calling for us at this stage, I'm afraid. The other hyena might just be a little black spot. Not easy though, it's a little bit outside of the IR range. Let's go closer. I'm not 100% sure which hyena it is. It's too dark at the moment and I don't have my spotlight with me. Oh, I do actually, but it's just not on and I don't want to spot it when we're in infrared. Let's see if we just go a little bit closer. I can tell you one thing though, they absolutely stink. It's the most horrible, putrid, dead, rotten feces smell that we're getting at the moment. It really is unpleasant when you park where they've been sitting. It's not nice at all. The thing is though, is that it looks like they're heading up towards back towards the Philemon's kind of cut line area, which is back towards the direction where Steve had those vultures this morning, and Bateleur and Tawny. So I'm going to just loop around to Philemon's, just check if they don't come out there. If they don't come out there, then they might have gone back to the den. If that's the case, I'm not going to follow them, purely of the reason that maybe us following them to the den is why she didn't stay. She might have just thought, well, I'm just going to take you away, and now that we're here, she goes back again. Could be that, and if it is the case, then I don't want to kind of stress her in any way. But I'm just going to go around. I want her nose not going to go, there's something. Yeah, so let's go and just shoot around. It's not very far away from where we are. I suppose I should get my down below me somewhere. Making it easy. I thought we were going to be kind of kids, if you're watching, don't do this. Don't drive while going to drive. Leg out the car. There we go. Alright, now we've got our spotlight. We can actually do what we need to do in the dark. In the meantime, though, it sounds like my mic is being full of nonsense again, so I'm going to send you across to Steve.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, and we are trying for what we call a last-minute leopard. But there's a hashtag out there for last-minute leopard, something we've pulled off many, many times in the past. The spotlight is out, as you can clearly see. We've still got the camera in color for now, but if we do find any, quickly switch over to the infrared spectrum. And this is an area, Tristan, I'm sure he was talking to now about what he potentially thinks has been going on. And the area I was following up on this morning, I was quite certain there was some form of a kill in the area, but I couldn't find anything. And it's possible that Ribbon found it. Hyenas have got that nose for those sort of things. And hopefully she's leading Tristan back there, so maybe we can find out what's been going on. But we're going to attempt to find, or at least cut any sort of direction that Hukumuri might have gone in after his altercation with Thandi last night. He stole what was left of her food. So we're just doing a big loop around sort of his familiar haunts to see if maybe he'll pop out. But then also looking for some nocturnal birds in the form of nightjars. Maybe some bronzing coursers or an owl. Or maybe even some lions walking. Lynn, I don't think anybody will ever see the opposite side of the moon. The moon moves as the earth moves, and it kind of tracks around like that. So there's always those funny sayings about the opposite side of the moon, what's going on the opposite side. I'm pretty sure everybody sees the exact same side of the moon because of the way that it actually moves around the earth. When it is the opposite side, I think it goes dark, in my opinion. Whenever I look at the moon, it looks the same, no matter where I've been. Obviously, the difference in its intensity and in the light it provides has a lot to do with your ambient light with regards to cities and pollution and that sort of thing. But I've yet to be to North America to see for myself what the moon looks like from there. Ooh, a herd of zebra have come in. They love to come in. Ooh, and that is a male leopard track. A herd of zebra and a male leopard track from this morning. The zebras like to come in for brief periods in the evening, and then by the morning they're gone again. They come and find some of our open areas where they can sort of hang out with the wildebeest and the Impala, keep themselves nice and safe, and then by morning they leave again, back to some grazing somewhere else. Something I've seen quite commonly here. But that male leopard track looked like it was from this morning, because the zebra track's all over it, or unless those zebras have officially moved in the last little while. They would have slowly come in around sunset time, find themselves in the open area where they can spend the evening grazing, and the open area with other animals gives them a little bit more, or affords them a bit more protection against the various predators on the prowl. Oh, Barbara, we are so happy you've enjoyed your drive this evening. It's been wonderful sharing our information with you, and we hope you keep watching. I have no doubt you will. It's a very special program. And it's wonderful to be a part of it. We'll be bringing you images. We'd like to show you an image or two apart from the back of my head right now, but that's just the way it works out here. You've seen some wonderful animals already this evening. I'm interested in managing to find that little cub. Lions and trees, cheetahs on the ground. What more can we ask for? And well, let's go back over to andBeyond Phinda and see what they've got for you this time.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're still with this pride of lions. They have not moved far at all. See this young male lying here close to us with his back to us. And then just to his right, his sister. Look at how much smaller and more dainty she is. See her, she's busy grooming herself, busy licking her paws, using that tongue of hers to get any bits of grime or dirt out of her fur. And then just back of her, there's 3 heads sticking out the long grass. And that's another young male, another young female, and then the old lioness. So we're still missing that one lioness. She hasn't come back just yet. And I wonder if she didn't maybe pick up an interesting smell. Maybe the scent of some potential prey that she's going to try and track down. The rest of her family content just to rest and wait for a bit. No doubt if she does call, that they'll all jump up and run to her. Look at this youngster here, busy grooming herself. One of the youngsters getting up there. Looks like a young male. I don't know if you can just make out that mohawk that's starting to grow along the back of his neck. Let's see what he does. See if he comes to greet his sister. Watch this. Look at that. So, a lot of you saying or thanking us for finding rhinos today. We're so glad we've finally been able to show you some rhinos. It's something we've been very excited about, and something we're definitely going to be looking for, I suppose, possibly every single game drive. We'll do our best to show you as many rhinos as we can. Something special that we bring to the table here with Phinda joining WildEarth. As well as many other interesting animals. And of course new prides of lions, new cheetahs, and maybe even if we're very lucky, some new leopards. Oh, there's the other lioness. Sorry everybody, I've just noticed now, I just saw some eyes glowing in the dark. Just behind that bush is the 6th lion. So they're all here, all accounted for, and all resting up. Look at this young female lion busy grooming her brother, and that big yawn. And look at that affection between siblings, grooming each other. Very, very, very special. Now grooming himself. It sounds like it's been quite an eventful day. On WildWatch we've had lions at Phinda, cheetah at Tswalu, leopards at Djuma, we've had rhinos and buckspur spiders and owls. It looks like the lions are all heading off towards that lioness off in the distance there. And off they slink into the night. They obviously know that they've done their job for this afternoon in terms of providing all of you with some wonderful entertainment. And I hope that you've all enjoyed your time with us here this afternoon. And we're going to be closing off for now. We'll see you all tomorrow morning for another sunrise safari.